My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we're talking about Realms of the Haunting, which is a game developed by Gremlin Interactive and Interplay for the PC in 1996.
It's me. I'm Gremlin Interactive.
Gremlin,
take me to the park.
Interactive.
Yeah, why not take me to the store? I'll help you run errands. Show me old pictures.
Hey, Gary, why are you Bonzi Buddy right now?
I'm a human Bonzi Buddy. You can take me. It's a Bonzi Buddy you can take on the go, and then you have to feed
and house.
Yeah.
This is a Cole pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is an interesting game. Mm-hmm. I'm glad to have the chance to the excuse to play it.
Yep.
It's like I have a lot of affection for it. I want to throw out there on Front Street. Nothing in this works.
Oh God! Yeah,
it's so unbelievably earnest that you cannot help but be charmed by it.
Yeah.
Every genre hybrid decision of this works against another one.
Oh, it's so
in a way that's kind of amazing, like a reverse House of Cards. Like you're using cards to hold a door open. It's not creating a structure. It's like it's denying one. I don't know.
It's a machine that just takes cards and then puts them face down and makes sure they never get back up.
Exactly. Yeah, it's real weird. It is a weird game. Lots of charm. This is. If you like the podcast as service stuff, I don't want to toot our own horn. We are doing you a fucking service. Class is in session.
Yeah. I think we're both in the same position here, right?
Okay.
I brought this game because I also have affection for it, and I think it's really interesting. And we talk about interesting not being fungible, charm not being fungible. In addition to like something being unique is not enough to make it good. But to me, this feels very emblematic of an extremely awkward time in the mid to late 90s of PC gaming in particular. Right?
It's a platypus.
Yes.
And it's got that appeal to it. It's also, I find the charms in this significantly harder to resist than a lot of things that are called charming.
Yes.
Like, you can't get mad at Realms of the Haunting, even when I was fucking furious at Realms of the Haunting.
When I was screaming, why don't you end?
Yeah, like, why don't you end? And like, oh, I can't believe you've broken your one mechanical rule for this one thing. And then you do it twice. Just like very mad, but then you're like, oh man, just trying his best, it's a cool experience. This is a very cool game. There's nothing else like it. Really.
Yeah. So in this game, you play as Adam Randall, a young man whose estranged father just died. And his will has directed you to go to this big spooky mansion, which has also been in your dreams, where you begin this dimension-spanning quest to save not only your father's soul, but also the world itself. We're here trying to stop the apocalypse.
Yeah, you do a lot of things in this. All realms in this thing. In addition to just, there's so many fucking doodads.
There's only 4 realms.
There's only 4 realms.
Yeah.
A lot of like sub realms though.
Yes.
Like in the house, there are still sub realms to the house.
Yeah. And I guess 5 because there's also the tower which rests between. Yeah. Everything about this game, there's just more of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is maximalist in a way that doesn't happen that often on this axis.
Right.
Like, it's wide with a variety of weird things, not wide the way that, say, like a Nightmare Checklist game is wide.
Yes.
It's not wide the way that, the Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League is wide, in that it has infinite content. It's just, it keeps going. It keeps expanding. Like, every time you meet a new person, they're like, I'm the counselor. I proper noun. I answer these 3 questions. I shall never appear again. And then like it's a whole other guy. And then that happens so many times in this. Yeah. I'm known as the adjudicator. Like, it's nonstop.
I'm known as the adjudicator. Also, I have like 5 other names. People are going to refer to me. You will see my face in an FMV and it will never be identified. Nobody will speak to me, but you're going to be expected to know that I am also the same person and different from this other person who also has 5 names is shown and then never referred to. Yeah.
It's the adjudicator and the adjusticar are both the same, and they both only appear once. It's so like the object permanence in this game. It's worth breaking down these mechanical bits. It sounds like it's going to be very complicated mechanically, and it is, but not on purpose in a weird way. So this is a first-person shooter for combat, and a first-person point-and-click adventure game for everything else.
Hence why I mumbled the genre at the beginning. Game.
Yeah.
And it's trying to straddle that line, and the closest reference point that I can think of is the original System Shock.
Yeah, this feels semi-similar to that to me. It's each of these individual aspects. The thing that I was thinking about with this, when I talk about this being a reverse House of Cards, is how they make the other parts harder.
Yes.
This being a first-person shooter, or and being a first-person adventure game, means that you are stopping your adventure game stuff to do bad first-person shooting fighting. You're exploring a point-and-click adventure game from a first-person perspective with that level of detail. Like adventure games at the time, instead of using 3D models, they would do really detailed painted backgrounds where they could do things like contrast.
Yes.
This doesn't have that. So you are doing item hunt stuff. And I don't know if this is a colorblind thing. It was very hard to find items without having a controlled camera, like without having, if you open a scene in Gabriel Knight, it's showing you everything you need to see, so you can be expected to find stuff in the background.
Yeah.
This game, not as much. Like, you have to look, and it has this weird straddling line between 1996 sparseness in terms of detail, and you have to actually look for everything. So it's like, it looks like they're just corridors. It looks like your eyes just roll off them, but there's stuff hidden there.
Yeah.
You have to find it. It's really weird.
And
it is like, it's like the third person RTS thing.
Yeah.
Like 2 genres that you can do it. But you're not getting a whole lot out of it, I think.
So I don't think that is just a colorblind thing. I think that this is a game where you have to learn to see the way that it needs you to see. Primarily because, like, what ended up tripping me up is whether or not something is interactable is not signaled by what kind of asset it is. So, like, sometimes there will be a 3D thing, that gets its own model, and thus I can interact with it. Sometimes it's a very, let's say, vague, different texture on a thing, indicating there's a compartment here, or these drawers open, but these ones don't. This drawer that opens looks exactly like another drawer that doesn't open elsewhere. It does not have the fidelity that it needs to clearly communicate what it's trying to, while also being so ambitious to make this a first-person 3D adventure game that is in real time, running around like a Doom level. It stops them from bringing any kind of composition to bear.
Yeah, there's no composition at all, and you have to basically hover over everything to see if it's interactable. And in a standard point-and-click adventure game, you're looking at a 2D plane.
Yes.
Hovering over everything. In this, you are a figure moving around a 3D world. So the number of things you have to hover over to check just grows exponentially.
Yes.
This enforces a pace, that's slow and kind of investigatory that I kind of appreciate, that is mirroring what it would feel like to, like, poke around for secret drawers and stuff
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. But then every once in a while, like a fucking, a subpar scratch and dent Goro teleports in behind you, and then you have to deal with the combat.
Yep.
Like it's very at odds, I think.
Yeah. It's fighting with itself the entire way. Yeah. So you're walking around in this 3D world, and you've got a floating cursor that you can move, move over things. This does not control like anything I have ever played before.
Yeah.
To the point where I would recommend, like, do not play this with the controls that come out of the box. Do a search for mods that will let you accomplish this, or there are like little config files you can download. The version that is distributed on GOG, I do not know if this is the same for the Steam one, is the UK version, which doesn't have any ability to remap anything built into it. So I had to accomplish this by going into DOSBox.
You want to play the American version of this.
Yes.
Because it has the remap, and then it also has easy puzzle mode, which we'll talk about. That's not easy.
No.
It's just a tedium saving thing. You need to rebind these controls post haste.
Yes.
You can tell how they intended the flow of the game to be based on how the controls were, which was you were meant to be playing modally the same way that your character is being modal, i.e. when you're walking around, you have both hands on the keyboard. And then when you are stopping or when you're fighting rather, you have both hands on the keyboard. When it's time to shoot, you move one hand over the mouse to look around. Or something like that. You're supposed to have two different control schemes. This feels bad.
Yeah.
Nobody ever wants to do that.
Let's talk about the combat. You can only fire your weapons when you hover your cursor over an enemy and it turns red.
Yes. That has a lot of fun, weird knock-on effects. To this, it means you can't really miss, which is kind of good, kind of.
You can miss if you're shooting projectiles, which is fully 2/3 of the weapons.
You can miss because they dodge a little bit there.
Yeah.
There's two types of weapons. You get the mundane weapons, and these are hit scan, and then magical weapons that shoot projectiles and then recharge. They have unlimited ammo, but they slowly recharge.
Extremely slowly recharge.
Yes. What you end up having the very unsatisfying loop in the end of this of shuffling between 6 of them. You're just juggling, like letting one recharge while you're firing the other 5.
Yeah.
At the end.
You're like a janitor trying to find the right key.
Every time you shoot. You can't lead projectiles because you can only shoot when the enemy's there. You also can't reload outside of anything. If you're using a hit scan weapon, you have to empty your magazine.
Yep.
And you have to find something to shoot at to do that. So like if I have one bullet left, I don't want to go to the next encounter with one bullet in the chamber. I can't reload. I have to find something the game will let me shoot. And it's usually a person, but you can also shoot windows and stuff.
Yeah. So it's really what is it that like the artistic parable of the camel or whatever, like each part was designed by somebody else.
Yes.
There's a lot of visual variety in the enemies here. Different sprites. Good.
It's worth noting they're each a miracle as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Each one of them is incredible and precious to me. They're horrible little claymation looking guys. So many Goros.
Yeah.
So many Goros. Like a cool dude in a suit shows up.
Oh yeah.
Partway through, he looks like that guy who sells insurance, but the insurance is for when he shows up.
He's the catastrophe guy. Yeah.
Catastrophe agent or whatever. It looks like him. But a Doom enemy.
Yeah.
Each one is great. There is no difference between them, and there's no difference between weapons. Yep. If you put a gun to my head and said which weapon is more powerful in this game, this wand or this wand, I could not tell you for the life of me. If you put two enemies together, I might be able to tell you which one has more hit points.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you how many hits they take, how they're different other than that. It's kind of incredible how samey all of the stuff is.
Yeah, there's no real implied like ecology to them, like where why they show up and where. Sometimes they're going to be like associated with a particular place, but that's more just because you are at a certain point and they need to ratchet up the difficulty. There's no variety in behavior. It's literally just health differences, and are they melee or are they ranged? And the guys
the
in the
worst AI I've ever seen in a game.
Oh yeah,
it's incredible. Like they spend all of this time like a broken robot. Like if you get a ankle high wall between you and the enemy, you can watch them, more or less do calisthenics forever.
Yeah,
like trying to get to you. They cannot figure it out. There's no pathfinding.
I can
nothing.
I can tell you what the most powerful weapon in the game is, and that is a doorway.
Yeah. Yep. They cannot follow you.
Them. Yep.
Yep. You want to run in this, but again, that runs a little bit counter purpose to the fact that you have to carefully look over everything in 3D to see these vaguely different resolution items that are, not just pickups, like you will find pickups there, but are quest necessary. I played this without having a walkthrough open, while I played it because I wanted to play it, and just like, okay. And the number of times I got stuck and it was like, oh, you just didn't, you used a key, but you can actually take that key with you after you use it.
Yeah.
Get fucked. I'm so mad at you, but I can't stay mad at you. You're so earnest. I got so mad, but it just, you can't, I don't know. It's a real push and pull.
Something else about the combat that I forgot to make a note of, but is worth talking about, is that enemies are never really there waiting for you when you walk into a place.
No.
They always warp in a puff of smoke. And it does this thing that is incredibly frustrating in first person games, which is enemies are constantly, if somebody warps in behind you or in front of you, somebody will warp in behind you and block your way out of the place that you're in.
It happens nonstop.
Yeah.
The first third of the game is a guy teleporting in front of you, and then a second later, a guy teleporting behind you. Like it's the coolest shit. Like they just like are really cooking with this one, and it happens so often.
Yeah.
Wild. The adventure game side of this fares better. The puzzles here are better.
Yeah,
I think inventory based, but not like combining the rubber duck with the hanger. You only do a little bit of that. Most of them are kind of environmentally based.
Yes. The world design kind of approaches early MSIM stuff when you are in like a recognizable human inhabited place,
Yes.
But like we said, it's hard to know what it wants you to see.
Yeah. And those parts are the strongest to me.
Yes.
Like the mansion's my favorite realm. Not for the content of it, because it has good atmosphere.
Yes.
And it's a space that makes sense. Even though every door has 3 doors to other rooms, you have to access every room from every room. This game has tons of voice acting in it, in that in game, your characters will comment on what you do. When you pick up an item, your character and then your companion character you get. And then if you look at something on the ground, they do this as well. And it's not just when there's anything interesting. Like there's tons of like ordinary chair. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, boy, it is. And then you get a companion and you go, ordinary chair. Seems good for sitting. And then like they do the little rider on the side. And it's really great.
Yeah.
Candle holder. That'll hold the candle up.
I'm just here to remind you that I'm here.
Yeah, nonstop. It's so funny. Doors. It can be open to go into another room. No, I'm going through the window for us. And it nonstop. Everything you click on is like this.
And that's in your inventory too. It's like when you inspect stuff, you'll sometimes get options for different things to talk about that. Something that this does that I love, and I know that it's been taken from other adventure games, is that in your inventory interface, they have icons for people, things, concepts, places that you can inspect, and then it brings up dialogue about them. And this is a way that the game delivers clues about what to do next, or like what this particular doodad with a proper noun name might be used for, right?
Yeah. Especially once you get the companion.
Yeah.
Who is kind of a walking detect magic, for most of the game.
Yeah.
And this is where I'll plant a line in the sand in terms of how I played this. There's tons of that stuff.
Yes.
In addition to tons of documents, many of which you cannot really read in engine. I started reading all those and then stopped and feel like I got it.
Yeah.
I got sick of going back and forth between the wiki and playing the game for this. And just, I zoomed out a little bit in broad strokes once I kind of realized what was going on. Generally. Right. So there's some lore notes I did not read because I couldn't read them in game. You have to go to the wiki and stuff. And there are some things I didn't examine just to hear the unique dialogue because I didn't need to.
So those documents, I think it's very smart for them just to make it flavor. There. That is huge. People, game developers, anybody in the 90s, if you're still making games back then, please do not use cursive, especially when your resolution is so low. Yeah. Cursive is hard enough to read when it is, nice and crisp. See the interstitial stuff in Providence, right? Like I can read it. It's just very slow. And when you make everything blurry and chunky, those glyphs just do not read. So cut it out.
Yeah.
Stop
Could not do it with a gun to my head.
Yeah.
Because in addition to FPS and adventure game modes, there's jumping puzzles and platforming. The jumping physics in this are so weird.
Yeah.
How far you can jump, whether you need to get a running jump, all of these things. None of this works.
No,
it's all bad.
It's all complicated by in this engine. It's not quite where Quake was in terms of 3D. So if you look up or down, there's a very disorienting foreshortening effect that is put on here. It's kind of like trying to look up or down in Doom.
Yeah. The only saving grace of this is that you can save anywhere.
Yeah.
So very expansive, very mazy, so much so that there are many mazes that you get. This is also a thing that I'm torn on, right? You get get maps rather for these mazes.
Yeah.
I'm torn on that because you can pull up the map, but the map is so zoomed in. You can only look at a quadrant of it. On one hand, I admire how that's emulating pouring over a map.
Yes.
On the other hand, it's just a maze. There's not that much that's interesting, that I feel like I'm going to find.
Yeah.
In this, the inventory tax of going back and forth between my map to get through this maze didn't end up feeling like it was worth anything, even though it was emulating the feeling of using a map to get through a maze.
Right.
I guess if that makes sense. Even in real life, I'd be like, I got through a maze. Cool. Throw me some incident, please. Yeah. And there are a lot of mazes.
Yeah.
In this. It is maze crazy.
There's one you can skip thanks to a bug though, and I've never done it. I've never.
Oh, I don't
walked that maze. Yeah,
you'll have to tell me about that when we get there. I did all the mazes.
Yeah,
I did all the goddamn mazes.
This is this is a game that you have because of the things we just said about the cursive and about the maps. This benefits from having two monitors. I think.
Yes.
You
almost need it.
Yeah.
More than benefits. It'd be hard to imagine playing without it for me.
Those mazes, they're just JPEGs. Said, hey, here's a PNG, and you look at those and figure out there's no actual mapping system in this. In there's no indicator where you are at on the map. There's no compass even. So this is you're orienteering, right?
Yeah. And there are symbols and everything, so you can do this. I don't want to make it sound like this is impossible.
No.
Or the game is technically playing dirty pool. It's playing, fair checkers, where the step to get through this is not particularly challenging, even if it's emulating the thing. For me, or fun. I don't really like the mazes in this game.
Yeah,
I wish they weren't here. And I'm not the biggest maze head in the world, but I think a maze has to have a trick.
Yes.
Otherwise it's literally the back of a menu. You could just do it. There's a reason why we put them on random stuff.
Yeah, it's literally just to make space take longer to get through. Yeah.
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 Tons of documents, journals, things like that go into backstory. We mentioned those are typically not key to the game, but there are a lot of them. Again, part of this care that went into this.
Yeah.
And then tons of FMV, a feature length amount of FMV.
Yes.
In this. There are 2 hours of FMV cutscenes in the game. There was originally going to be way more.
Oh yeah.
Than that. They couldn't fit it on a disc.
Nope.
Which is why some of this game feels a little unfinished near the end. There are definitely scene missing.
Yep.
Parts of this. One big one that made me laugh really hard. And these are a weird thing is these are uniformly weird and really pretty good.
Yeah.
Not just charming, some of these are kind of good. Some of them are well performed for this kind of thing. If you're expecting Sewer Shark, this is significantly better than that.
This is batting above a lot of FMV at the time, right?
Yes.
I think that I've only ever watched clips of this being played, but it seems about equivalent to Wing Commander to me.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah.
In that. So they're on blue screen. So the characters are walking around the game environment. Really charming when they have to actually build a mechanical thing for them to interact with.
Oh yeah. I love those props.
We had to actually build these little props there. And the actors are all unknown. But again, generally a little bit better than you might think. Adam is played by David Tuomi. This is the only role he ever took. He disappeared from the earth. He's real bland. But he does the job that he has to do. And he wears a cool duster.
Yeah. He's like a little bit meatier Hayden Christensen kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Beef boy.
kind of the main antagonist here, Florentine, is played by Mark Finn, kind of a long-running backbencher British TV actor, if you look at his IMDb. And the secondary villain is another one of those, a little bit less prolific. David Lerner plays Belial. He also played Pickle on Nightmare.
Aw.
Yeah.
And I like that performance a lot. You have Florentine, who is a real mustache twirling, like huge villain, obvious villain. And then Belial, who comes off as more genuinely menacing in this.
Yeah.
The story keeps going. We're talking about like that. Like, this is so extra for everything. It is nonsense. They are constantly introducing new concepts, characters, and artifacts one after another for the entire game.
It is so malediction prophecy. I love it so much.
It's the narrative equivalent of the Control. Like, you have to get down to the basement to route the substations, but once you get down to the basement, I got bad news about the attic. It's like that for narrative. Once you gather the 3 crystals, you'll have to get to the Soul Stone. But once you get to the Soul Stone, I have bad news about the portal. It's like that.
Yeah. Oh, there's another guy. Like, there's just always another guy.
Just one off these guys, these medieval times actors who show up and be like, I am the custodian. And just, they have some kind of proper space-time realm name.
It would be so much easier and also cheaper for there to be any conservation of detail at all.
Yes.
And they don't do it.
It has huge, like, I planned out my first novel trilogy and only get one shot at this. It all has to go in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is very, again, leads to that charm. Right? Like, the maximalist charm of this. This would maybe be a better story and easier to follow if it were more chill, but I think it would lose some of, like, it being funny on accident.
One of the first things to be cut would be the gnarl, and I cannot lose the gnarl.
No. Every one-off dude needs to be cut in this.
Yeah.
But I can't lose the gnarl. Nope. I just wish that there was more to the gnarl. The ire is a cool idea. Yep. That doesn't get very much.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, this game is unfinished. And it does, kind of jump from concept to concept, things being dropped, gaps between things, pretty apparent when you're looking at it, even if you're not specifically looking for it.
Yeah. Yeah. The music in this game, it's MIDI dungeon synth kind of stuff. It's fine. There aren't enough tracks.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the graphics generally good. I really like the enemy designs because they're so weird. They look like pitches for like a Killer Instinct knockoff from this time or something like that.
Yeah.
None of them look cool. I don't think that there's a single monster in this that looks cool. But I like that. All off-brand Goros. Yes. Like, they all look like a character that you would add to Mortal Kombat 3 and then cut.
All off-brand Goros, no reaction animations, please.
Yes. Yeah. Just kind of every once in a while, like, they kind of stop moving a little bit.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Let's talk about the development here. So Gremlin Interactive, one of the best named studios out there, actually began life as a computer store over in England called Just Micro, and then they started making their own software. In 1984. You probably recognize some of the games that they have worked on. Big ones being Wanted, Monty Mole, and then also Thing on a Spring, like microcomputer stuff. A
lot of silly, undoubtedly isometric games.
Yes.
There. The mid-90s, they worked on this 3D adventure game called Normality that looks like the Mr. Pibb mascot, the game.
Yeah.
The put it in your head guy. And decided to use that engine to make an interactive horror film. I looked up Normality stuff a little bit. It looks like this, but without combat. And more cartoony graphics, so things stand out. Like, it almost looks like it might be, a little bit less ambitious, but a little bit stronger of a putt, maybe.
Yeah, more successful.
Yeah. They call this an interactive horror film. This is not a horror game.
Nope.
Even a little bit. There's a couple moments of atmosphere when you're exploring the mansion, but I wish it had been more of a horror game.
Personally.
I could have dealt with more of that.
I really do. And they talk about, we're delving into the fear of the unknown. And they say, oh, we don't have any silly gore or whatever. It's literally just dark fantasy is what it is.
The unknown, if you're introducing the fear of the unknown and then a medieval times actor walks up and goes, I am the unknown. You may ask me any question you like about orbs. I'm not afraid. It's just you've added another guy.
Yeah. So putting the story together, they pull the details from occult texts, obscure scriptures. And Gary, it's another one. We got another one. They pulled from fucking the Holy Blood and the Holy Grail. It's the Da Vinci Code.
It's a Da Vinci Code. It's a Gabriel Knight 3 joint, everyone. Finally. That was just in the water, man.
Mm-hmm.
Wild. The game's lead programmer, Anthony Crowther, worked on a bunch of microcomputer stuff before this, including the Nightmare game. For Nightmare, go to Adaptation Decay.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Nightmare. Nightmare is sick.
Yeah, Nightmare with a K. Yeah.
It makes me wish I was born in a different time and country.
They partnered with the production house in Warwickshire called Bright Light Studio for the live action elements. I can find no further details about this studio beyond just what is in the making of video that comes with the game. You can find this on YouTube. It is very charming if you want to get a sense for what they hope for this game to look like. Is what they hope for it to look like, how they hope for it to feel. You also get some delightful names from the staff here. Not going to make fun of these names. I think these are awesome. You've got Keith Dando, and you have Les Spink.
Les Spink is really good.
Yeah.
I say more Spink. So this is very expensive. This idea was going to be a big CD-ROM project. They talk about this as a multimedia push, very expensive, and it reviewed well, but didn't sell well.
Mm-hmm.
Even reviews at the time, I read some contemporary reviews, which is always a fun thing to do when you go back to this era, especially for PC stuff. And everyone complains about the controls.
Yep.
Even then, it's kind of wild to see.
Yeah.
This is a cult hit.
Right.
More than anything.
They were working on a sequel before production wrapped up on this one. Obviously, they had ideas that couldn't go in, so trying to figure out how to reconfigure them, how to reuse them. But that project was canned when this underperformed. You cannot make the most expensive thing a studio has ever made and then also have it not sell.
Yes. Yeah. That is a double threat.
Yes.
There. So they didn't, weren't able to make the sequel. Because the game underperformed. They were acquired by Infogrames, 1999. Also good developer.
They make the best games.
Yeah, I love these games. They're informative. And they shut down in 2003. There's a fan site for this. It's from that era of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the kind of thing I imagine if you were a big Realms head and found this in 2002. Can you imagine how much you'd feel like you found your people?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It is a charming, barely updated, still of the time mostly website called realmsofthehaunting.com that is maintained by this hero, Sasha Kimmel, since 2002.
Yeah. Godspeed, Sasha Kimmel. The copyright at the bottom is 2024. So it has been updated for the current year at the very least.
Do you remember we just had thousands of these weirdos instead of everything being fandom?
It was such a wonderful time, right? Because you knew the weirdo who was putting this together would be thorough enough to actually complete it. Whereas now we just have a bunch of wikis that are all stubs because everybody thinks somebody else is going to do it. No, we need weirdos with determination.
What a great argument for UBI.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that, I sincerely believe this. I don't think Sasha Kimmel should have another job other than maintaining this.
No.
With all of the billions of people on Earth, we can afford one of them whose entire purpose is to maintain this website.
Billions.
And that, that should be, they should be able to just live on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even putting aside leftism reasons, I just think it's better for the culture.
Yes.
Let's get into it. The unending amount of fucking chapters we have to get through for this thing.
Chapters, Gary, that vary wildly in length from a few hours down to a couple of minutes.
A couple of minutes, yeah. They had to get 20 chapters in. It's very big. The teacher says you have to make something a certain number of words.
You're adjusting the margins all over the place on this.
Yep.
Yeah. We have an opening video as we're going in. We see this malicious green force take over an idyllic screensaver realm. It coalesces into an orb which spouts angelic wings in the middle of this circle of standing stones covered with runes. We're going to see what we're going to learn what this is. It's kind of the big MacGuffin at the center of everything.
Yeah. Yep. We get a glimpse of a sword really quick before we cut to this young man, our hero, with the duster in the back of a car. He narrates how his father recently died. He was estranged. His dad was a pastor in a small village in Cornwall. And he's been having vivid dreams about this house that his father described there, as well as glimpses of an amulet, a man in a hat, a vision of himself with a disfigured face, and an angelic woman.
Yes.
So he's having prophetic dreams.
Right. And added on top of that, got a visit from a very suspicious priest, Elias Camber. He corresponded with him about his dad and talks about his letters getting more and more agitated, dwelling on this house. And when Adam does some research on this guy, Elias Camber doesn't exist. This is the main villain in disguise. Very poor disguise, but in disguise.
Yeah, horrible disguise. Yeah. Elias gave him a package. He ignored it for a long time. He said, like, enough of that stuff. But then opened it because he kept having the dreams. The dreams were stopping him from sleeping. And it's full of these carved fragments of something, little thing you'd make for your mom in sculpting class that then broke.
Yes.
So he gets out of the house, or gets out of the car, goes into the manor house, and it's full of spooky paintings. And that's our beginning here.
Yeah. With chapter 1, Shadows. The entry hall is small. Most of the doors are locked. Some of them are warded with the seals. And we pick up our pistol. We find a typewriter that is typing out a note that says, "We live," over and over. This is the most horror-y that this is going to be.
Yes. Also, obviously, Resident Evil vibes.
Yes.
Walking to a mansion, having a typewriter off the end is nice and comforting. The pictures in this mansion are great. You'll comment on them, and most of them we're going to find out, are the antagonists in different periods of time. Some of them are just a spooky pair of eyes that follow you, like huge cartoon eyes, like in Haunted House for Atari. Looking at you. It's great. It's very
Beautiful.
Funny. One of the systems in this game is lighting. The lights aren't on in the house generally. So you have to turn on the lights or light candles. You have a little lantern you don't equip. That was my first wrestling with the mechanics of this. I'm like, surely I can use this lantern.
Yeah.
No, it just kind of hangs out near you.
Yeah.
But you're responsible for light.
Yes.
You go into a room and you have to find the light source and light candles and stuff. This is never used for terror. It never makes combat harder. It's just a nice touch.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Just a little thing to do. You walk into a room and you look near the door to light it up. Sometimes it's broken, says something about the space. I'm for it. I'm not against it. Yeah.
Into it.
There is a painting of a sarcophagus at the end of this hall, and we have to light up the two candles on either side of it, mimicking the two torches that are on either side of the painting. The sarcophagus inside the painting, and the painting pulls away, and a key is revealed. Also, a trap fires.
Yes. Again, just kind of showing you that's going to happen. You have health in this game. You do have a way to heal. We'll talk about that when it pops up. You walk into the study and a scene starts. There are paintings. All these paintings resemble Elias Camber, but he's a crusader. So he's been around for a long time. And a chain ghost approaches you. It's your dad. And basically he's being tormented.
Right.
You had to free his soul. So he did die and he's being perma-tormented. We're in talk to me land.
Yeah.
He raises his necklace, this green gem that binds him. And he says, I can't help you, but you need to get to Alf. And we're like, okay, we're looking for Alf.
We're looking for Alf. We got Alf's about.
That name was colonized at the time this game was made. They should have known better than that as well.
You should have known. You should have known.
Real sucking on a chili dog kind of thing. You knew. You deserve anything that happens because you use that line.
Yeah. In the captions, it is elaborated. It's AELF, but you had your actor's dead ass saying you need to find Alf.
Yeah,
into microphones
or something like that. He could have pronounced it differently as well.
He also didn't need to have. It's one of 3 names this dude has.
Yes, he could have went by any of his other names. It also breaks the convention. He's not called the Guardian,
right?
Or something like that, like he should be. Then these kind of goopy undead knights with stuff glued to them appear and take your dad away.
Yeah.
So you have your first mission, find Alf.
Those undead knights are some of the programmers. Their crew, not from the production house, but people who worked on the game.
Cute.
Yeah. Then we're in chapter 2, Signs and Portents. All of the titles are like that.
Good God. Requiem to a Prelude.
There's a letter on the ground. There's some correspondence from somebody named RF to Claude. Somebody named Claude. Saying like, hey, I'm going to go back to my temple because I fear that something has gone terribly wrong. There are other letters that talk about Claude preparing for some kind of ceremony. And then Claude stops responding. You get a couple of trailing letters that are like, hey, haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah. This is the setting up for the big twist.
Yes.
In the game. There's a record player that plays the sound of a baby crying and a woman gasping and then an evil man laughing. Again, kind of being a little bit horror stuff. It's amazing how fast this stuff burns off. And there are these golden serpent statues around this thing that we're going to find, and a big sarcophagus with a raised platform with little spots for the serpents.
Yes.
We don't have enough snakes for this. This kind of signals what we're going to be doing in the game, which is like going through an area that's going to reveal more story while keeping an eye to collect certain things usually. And there are almost every time there are too many of them. This one included. We're going to find these as we go around. It's not worth mentioning everyone we find because there's like 9 of them, but they just put them in random spots.
Yeah.
Deeply irritating to me. It's very easy to just miss one and then have to backtrack to where you missed it.
Yep.
And then that means you have to be very slow and check over everything with a fine-toothed comb, which is kind of a pain in this engine and kind of a pain on my eyes.
It's a pain in this engine because we're working with kind of Doom rendering stuff. So though the world has a 3D effect to it, everything interactable, most things that are interactable, including enemies, are presented as sprites that have rotation. So sometimes if you're looking for something and you see like out of the corner of your eye, it might not have finished rotating toward you yet. So everything is just a little bit of a mirage all the time.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Poking around.
There's a bookcase story here.
Yeah. You've got to like look around and interact with all of the bookcases because it seems like there's nowhere to go. But this opens up and we find our first enemy in this hallway, a weird looking demon man with a sword called a Yielder.
Yes. We're going to fight a lot of these guys. This is the Goomba of this. All they do is walk towards you. This leads down to a temple called the Mausoleum. So we're in kind of the first, what I would consider almost a realm. This is a huge basement under this house.
Yes.
Lots of Yielders warp in. This is you're doing combat here. Combat in this is not hard at any point. It's just like attrition-y.
Yeah.
I found like it is hard, to move and shoot. The way that it's kind of set up, it's a little difficult with the silly control scheme, even with messing with it.
Yeah.
And it makes, once you get a melee weapon, it makes kings fielding it difficult as well to avoid damage. I find it awkward.
Yes.
Like never hard because of the enemies presenting a challenge, but hard because it was hard to make the thing happen and would have been hateful if the enemy had good AI.
Right.
The fact that they would always just kind of mill about and like bumble off each other. Gave me enough time to make it work.
Yeah.
In this.
The 2 levers that they have for making things harder are to give the enemies more hit points and to cram you in smaller and smaller spaces.
Yes. Yeah. And it's you end up taking what feels like mandatory damage. You want to be saving all the time. In this. Like this is a game where I ended up doing I went into a room and did a bad show of it, so I'm going to reload.
Yes.
I think I can do that better, and I don't want to lose all the resources because there is an element of survival horror in this in terms of limited ammo and health.
Yeah. Couple of paths here. This is it's a dungeon. One goes to a trapped room you'll get an ambush. Another hallway here introduces you to a new enemy, cyborgs. These are skeletons and power armor.
I wasn't expecting skeletons and power armor this quickly.
And also never again. None of the realms you go to are techno realms.
Yes.
And these guys don't show up anywhere else.
When they die, also, they don't fall all the way down. They just kind of take a knee. So they're still kind of in your way. They will block your vision when you take them out. You pull a lever to open this room that has a key in it. And when you leave, it's raining. Indoors, woo, and there are more of these cyborgs here, and they talk. This is the first time enemy talks to you. You've broken the pack, and you will be destroyed. Okay,
all right. I don't know what pact is. Yeah. There's another room that has this teleporter that keeps bringing in more cyborgs. You do not want to fight them. You might waste a bunch of resources doing this because they keep spawning in. What you have to do is you have to, while these cyborgs are shooting at you, go around and press these panels to deactivate all of the cyborgs. Killing all of them that happen to be in there and deactivating the portal. And some weirds. Some weird words. Chulam, Ashtar, and Darius appear on the wall. That literally doesn't translate into anything.
No, it's just magic words.
Yes. But this will be a password for later. Thankfully, like when you click on the thing that takes this, you do not have to remember exactly what it is. It is just an option that is added to the dialogue tree.
Yeah, dialogue option there. The main room in the mausoleum is this big grand hall. There's a big statue of a demon at the end that's blocking an exit. And there's a locked door in this grand hall that leads to this hallway that has skeletons carpeting the floor. Yeah. And all these murals on the wall of like knights, fighting things.
Yes.
Generally. A cutscene has this whispering voice warn Adam to turn back. Mm-hmm. Your hand is unmarked. You cannot go here. If you do keep going, you'll die.
Yeah.
I like this little bit of environmental storytelling. A lot of people have tried to go down this hallway.
Yes.
That's why the floor is made of skeletons.
They want to get there.
Yes.
But to do this, you need to go to the other side. The other side of the hall is trapped. A floor will drop you into a dungeon with lots of enemies and tight quarters. And you pass through this shimmering door that is also a portal to another realm. On the other side it is this green-lit temple. And there is a profane throne with just English words written on the wall around it. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. I will also send wild beasts among you.
Also is so good there.
Yep.
I will also. The shop that sold antiques plus eels. So you have to set the throne. And you do this, even though it seems like a bad idea. It racks your body with this horrible pain. And we get a glimpse of the Hat Man. Mm-hmm. There's a guy with a hat who we're going to see. An evil stage magician is also in play in terms of the two third antagonists.
Yeah.
We talked about before. And the point of sitting in this chair is that brands your palms with a seal. This is actually a really good thing. This is highly desirable in this world.
Yeah, don't understand why everything around this is so menacing. Also,
yes.
At least one of those quotes that I will also send wild beasts among you, that is from Leviticus. So is biblical. No. Thought it sounded biblical.
No. Yeah, it does sound biblical.
Yeah. So now that we're marked, we can get through that. We can get through that hallway. We reach this big temple area with an altar that has this long curved artifact on it, a staff. And a voice, speaks to us in a cutscene saying, "Hey, you're marked for destiny. You must take the artifact and then restore balance." So it's not just the staff; it's also this pendant-looking thing. The symbol on his hand, the amulet, and the staff all match.
Yes, we get all of that stuff together. You take it. We get the staff. Says, "Use it well. It will see you clear to speak with the valiant one." We're going to find out this is Alf. Getting the staff, we also get an item called the Shrive. This is just an amulet.
Yeah.
It's the bottom of a sword. It's the part of a sword.
The pommel of a sword, yeah.
It's a pommel of a sword, but it's called the Shrive because everything has a proper noun in this. And then gargoyles pop in. That's the realm of the haunting experience for this whole thing. That voiceover, getting a Shrive, and then a bunch of gargoyles pop in and yell at you.
Yep. These are the first enemies with projectiles that will come after you. And the staff is our first magical item. Incredibly strong when you fire it, when it's fully charged, and it will regain power slowly as it charges up. It's better to stick with hit scan weapons for right now. Is what this is. Also, somewhere around here, the evolution of the Yielders show up. They're just they're just darker in color and they have bigger horns. So yay,
yeah, angrier Minotaur looking guys. You can now interact after you get out of this. You can interact with the big statue. You can speak those words that we learned. That makes the statue lower, and we can step in the hallway behind it where we encounter Camber again. And he's being real smirky. He says, you have something I want. And you can ask him questions. What Adam does in this game is go, what's the deal with this? Mm-hmm. Whenever he talks to anybody, you just like...
just a little Seinfeld rumbling around.
Constantly. Like just, well, what part does the Gaul have in this? Who's the Guardian? You can do that. It doesn't matter.
No, not at all.
He leaves and kind of like sassily summons some skeletons to fight you in this very small room.
Yeah. And you gotta fight him with nowhere really to run. Died here a couple of times. Save often.
Yep.
You leave this room and you find this door that you can open with the shrive. And this gets you into a large, watery chamber where we meet Alf, who is not is not a hairy alien from the planet Melmac, but he
does eat cats though.
He does, like, very
I can't believe they wasted so much FMV on that. Like, and I don't think they're props. They yell.
Yeah.
Like, But Elf is a beautiful young knight.
Yes.
With a goofy haircut.
And he warns you, yes, you have enemies that will work against your quest to save your father and everyone who wishes to be free. Something about the way that this is shot, nobody is ever shown in full body except for Adam. So there are entire characters that just exist as bust shots. Alf is one of them.
It's also the beginning of a thing in this game where characters are cryptic because if they weren't, there wouldn't be a story.
Yeah.
Like, Alf isn't under a geese or anything that he can't tell you what's going on. He just doesn't, and you don't think to ask. Like, it's about 2/3 the way through the game where at one point Adam just asked all the questions I wanted him to ask.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the questions I would ask.
Yeah.
But he basically, you know, again, we got to the basement, we have bad news about the attic. He's just, you found me, now go find another person.
Yes.
That's your next quest.
Yeah, I can only give you knowledge, but I must find things that were taken from him to strengthen our link. He's a ghost, kind of.
Yes.
We'll find out what he actually is you must find the tower, and then he fades away.
Yep. And then skeletons warp in and yell at you. They'll keep reviving unless you hit their corpses on the ground. There's a snake statuette just hidden in a little side room here next to some ammo.
Hope you didn't miss it.
Yep. And if so, you have to come all the way back, like I did. You run all the way, but you go back to the study and meet a woman named Rebecca Trevisard. And you recognize her from your dreams. She's really cryptic. You have no time for it, but you guys just hang out.
Yeah.
You know, like you're just like, this is ridiculous. She's like, well, can I walk near you? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah. You never see her in the game world, even in mirrors, which is very funny. She's just another voice when you are interacting with things outside of cutscenes.
Yeah, she's the one who tells you that, you know, this will hold a candle up. She also, a funny thing about the mirrors in this, it always shows you, and no matter what weapon you use, it's your Glock.
Yep.
You can swing your sword and it shows you shooting a pistol in the mirror.
It's real Slayer's X.
Yeah, it's pretty funny as a thing.
Yeah. So they agree to start again. And, you know, they shake hands. And when he does this, he gets a vision of Alf. What is happening is she is reading his mind. She is kind of a psychic medium magic person. She says, oh, there's more at stake here than your father. Everybody keeps saying that.
Yeah, I know. I'm here for my father. You don't have to keep closing the, you know, upselling. She is, I think this is a good actress. I like this performance generally.
Yeah.
And she is here just to tell you what magical things do.
Yes.
Basically. She has a detect magic spell. We found some potions before this, and you can examine them now, and she can comment and be like, they're healing potions.
Yes.
You get a good amount of healing potions in this, but they are finite. I imagine you can soft lock yourself in this game pretty heinously.
Yeah. Which is why you want to do rolling saves as well as you know, saving often. Yeah.
Yes. This brings us into chapter 3, Keeper of Time. Todd McFarlane, Keeper of Time.
Keeper of Time. So Rebecca's along with you, and you can start inspecting things. You can inspect things in your inventory, get more information. We are missing the snake statuette, so we talk about the sarcophagus. You know, that pops up. And Rebecca can sense some psychic energy around it. And you can also talk to Rebecca just generally about psychic powers. And this is a bunch of like pseudoscience of the time. You know, up to and including, you're talking about ESP as something called Faculty X. Yes.
Faculty X is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that also happens in this game that's super arbitrary is you make enough progress and doors open. This one is because of Rebecca, but then later it just starts happening.
Yeah.
You know, some of the symbols. Rebecca has an eye pendant that will open these, you know, kind of a hint that she's maybe not up to no good. You don't have an eye pendant usually when you're up to good. And then just we can explore more of the mansion now.
Right. Poke around a dormitory room. You touch a chest and it slides to the side a little bit, unlocking a door in the hallway. I hate it when you interact with something in a room and then something in another room changes. I hate it.
It's classic.
Yeah.
No. Even if they do the thing where they show you the room, they're relying on you recognizing a room, and it's usually in games that don't have a fidelity to have like landmarks.
Yeah.
Like you can do that in like Resident Evil Remake, because I'll recognize the statue room.
Yes.
From anywhere, but you can't do it in something like this, and it doesn't even give you that courtesy.
No.
Yeah.
But you go into this. There's a floor tile here that opens a secret door. It's pretty well hidden. It's behind the door when you open it up. Anything that just kind of communicates, hey, pay a little bit closer attention here. You press that, and you get into a small closet where you find the map. This house is gigantic. What is available to you is like 1/8 of it at the beginning.
Yeah, so many empty rooms. It's my dream house. As you get this, the sitting room near here also has a map of the caverns. So we're collecting our maps.
Yeah.
There's a fireplace. When you approach it, it flares up, and there's a green crystal in the fire.
Yeah.
So we take this. We can take it to this ritual room with this small crystalline dome, and this slots right into the top of that, which starts the scene. It looks like a Jell-O mold.
Yeah. And the room shifts around us, and the paintings on the wall become, windows to different places. And we're kind of in an Egyptian themed temple kind of deal. And there's this strange humanoid thing that is completely wrapped in ragged cloth. It's wearing a crown.
He looks a little bit like Mumra. From Thundercats a little bit. And also bite your tongue when you're like, there are 4 realms in this game. You're constantly going to stuff like this. Like, there are a lot of realms in this game, man.
There are 5 named realms. Yeah.
Yes. There are a lot of unnamed sub-realms, though.
I was trying to squeak that by you.
So it's Mumra holding this tiny little toy mace. He's got like a Halloween costume, kid's mace, like kid's first cleric costume.
Yeah. And he talks like a very like exasperated, I don't know, shop owner.
Yes. I love him. And this is the Gnarl.
Yeah.
He's so good.
I'm the Gnarl. Do you think that this is supposed to be like a Nyarlathotep thing with the Egypt? Like, is this mythos? I don't know.
He gives you masks.
Yeah.
That's tells you to get masks. That's Nyarlathotep. Who knows? Though? Like, it doesn't matter because he doesn't come back. There's never enough data points in this game to make suppositions. There's never 2 data points. So you can't really make lines.
Yeah.
In it. It's real weird.
And it sucks because the Gnarl makes a case for its existence all on its own, just by the appearance.
Gnarl's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The way he gives Adam a little bonk on the head for interrupting his meditation or whatever. Like just just a little tap. Yeah.
The dialogue is real cool here too. Like he's got bars.
Just like
Gnarl's Barsley.
You ask him like, so where am I? And he's like, yes, I am constant. Time is the traveler here. So some kind of time entity. And he says, in order to gain the keys to the tower, you must pass some tests. The tower is this place that links all of the worlds. And he, says, take these 2 masks from the balcony in this temple and then go use the dome again. So he's literally just here to give us these masks, which are just a little interface tax for when we want to use warp pads that take you between the realms.
They look so dorky.
Yeah.
And I, for all the world, I was like, the Gnarl is going to be important. You know what it's like? It's exactly like the Video Dead. Where at one point that old man in the TV, he's like, they call me the garbage man. Yeah. And he talks about fighting the zombies and then never comes back again. It's exactly that, but there's like four of those in this. This brings us to chapter 4, Tales from the Tower. You go back to the house. You have the mask. And you kind of poke around. There's a sword and shield on the wall. We touch it. It spins and unlocks a nearby door so we can go upstairs.
Yeah.
Here.
You walk into an armory and Rebecca kind of winces in pain. She grasps for her eye pendant and asks Adam to hold her hand. She's getting visions of the man in the hat standing outside the mansion and shuffling cards. And he lights a match and then places a seal on the front door before dropping an ace of spades on the ground. You can go get it, and it says, Adam, now it begins. This
is so weird. The idea is he's sealing you in, but we are already sealed in. As soon as you get in, you can't leave.
Yeah, it's
and
really
then, an hour into the game, they show it getting sealed. Yeah. Well, no, I think you say it's locked.
Oh, huh.
Like when you first leave.
Okay.
Like, I think you get supernaturally sealed in, and then they show it like an hour later.
Okay. Fine.
It's real weird. Yeah.
Why would they do anything once?
I don't know. Or in the order that they happen.
Yeah. So skeletons warp in. Since he has done this, we have to, again, overkill them or shoot the remains to stop them from popping back up. Real Elden Ring hours there. And there's a big cache of shotgun ammo in a corner, which is trapped with another skeleton spawn.
Yep.
Yeah.
We picked up a shotgun at some point. It should be noteworthy that we haven't really talked about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel that much better than the pistol.
Mm-hmm.
All these weapons feel the same to me.
Yes.
Almost exclusively. I could not tell you for sure that the shotgun does more damage.
I counted it. The pistol will kill the yielder in 4 shots, whereas the shotgun will kill it in 2.
There we go.
Yeah.
So we do this. We get an incomplete map of the tower on top of the bookcase, and the top of the stairway. There's a room containing this teleporter pad. They'll take us to the tower. We had to get on it and put on these like dorky masks.
Mm-hmm.
And this warps us.
It warps us to the tower, which is kind of like tower tops with walkways in between them. We're outdoors, and we've got a man named Raphael who looks exactly like early It's Always Sunny Mac.
Yes, this is the gardener.
Yeah.
We're going to meet a lot of the proper noun who tells us something. He's cooking a fish over a small fire. He's like, I'm the last of the guardians of the tower. The tower. There are many stones that will take you to many different realms. And he names some realms.
Yes.
That you're going to go through. There's the realm of spirit, the realm of the divine, the realm of hell.
Yeah.
He says, go use this portal. And he also, is this where he mentions the ire? There's a thing called the ire.
Yeah, he makes an offhand.
Did you figure out the fucking ire?
Yeah, so the it's mentioned in a note later. It's in one of Florentine's journals.
Okay.
Yeah, the ire is basically a force within the tower that seeks to expel anybody who goes there. It's like a dark cloud of living things that will overtake you. Is what it is. So it's more almost like a weather feature more than anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you're confused why I could be like, what is the ire? It doesn't show up. Every once in a while when you're in the tower, you'll hear a whispering.
Yeah.
That's it. But the Guardian has, a paragraph warning you about the ire.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, the Gnarl is going to be a thing in this. The ire is going to be a thing in this. I'm going to get chased.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm in here by the ire. No. It's just this weird added detail that not only it's like not background or world building. Mm-hmm. It's just something telling you something's gonna be a threat and then it isn't.
It's a lie.
Yeah, it's just a lie. It's Castlevania 2 stuff in a weird way almost.
Yeah.
But except it's Castlevania 2 if they just didn't implement the things.
Right.
Do
you want to guess how many times Raphael shows up in the rest of the game?
I don't need to guess, but if you're listening at home, guess and then see at the end of the episode if you're right.
So if you spend time in this area, you do hear those whispers. You also hear snippets of conversations about someone named the Florentine, talking about something called the Dodger. And you hear these kind of conspiracies to destroy the realms. These just pop up at random.
Yep. So you walk around the tower, these walkways, one has an active portal to take you back to the mansion, depositing you in the courtyard.
Yeah.
And in this courtyard, we materialize next to this tree full of hanging skeletons. We get this little scene where the moon turns red and we hear the whispering voices say, "Walk with us. The marked one approaches."
Yeah.
These statues.
They're coming from these statues. And if you approach the statues in the game, they will say things like, "Save us. We can't move," or something like that. Like these are, not elaborated upon.
No,
at all,
but non-derogatory.
Yeah.
Like in that case, I'm way into that.
Oh yeah.
It's not like I want to see the Gnarl more, but I like that the statues aren't explained.
Yeah. It's a good little touch. So poking around in this courtyard side of the house, we find a key in a pool. Yep.
I got to squat on this for a second.
Okay.
Pun intended here.
Yeah.
This is the only time in the game where you have to duck.
Yes.
You can duck. It's not useful.
Mm-hmm.
You've never used it before. You will never use it again. Everything that's been on the ground so far, you could pick up from standing height.
Yes.
This is the one thing in the game where it's under a layer of water and you cannot pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed that the water was acid or it was a fake key or there was something bewitching me to not touch the water because I couldn't do it. because you never have to duck. I could always pick things up off the ground.
Yeah.
This drove me nuts. This took me a long time. I ended up looking it up and then being very mad at Realm of the Haunting and then being like, I can't be mad at your Realm of the Haunting. You only require ducking once, but you got heart. You got Pip. Yeah. But this is really irritating to me. The way the game breaks its rules, and it does this relatively consistently.
Yeah.
There are a few other instances that I can remember where it's like, oh, this just isn't how you work.
This also is an item that you need to look down in order to see. Looking down into anything that is inside of a container, again, because of that sprites against faux 3D kind of effect, means that if you just look down, you're not seeing the entire inside of the thing. You have to look inside any given container from multiple angles.
Yes.
So it might just appear there's nowhere for me to go. What the hell do I have to do here? And then it just arbitrarily appears the next time you look in there because you're looking at it from a different angle, right?
Yeah, this drove me crazy.
Yeah,
I found this very frustrating. This unlocks a room with this parchment on a plinth in it, and this has the key to the different realms, the realm runes. It shows us what runes represent what realms.
Yeah, Arqua, Raquia, Sheol, and Heled, which is Earth.
Yes.
Yeah,
the one we went to. A voice speaks to me saying that you shall die, and the mask will be mine. The Gnarl has been out of reach for too long, and then tons of enemies spawn in the courtyard. But we escape.
Yeah.
Last mention of the Gnarl.
Yep. Has been out of touch for too long. Yeah, it is. There's never any established conflict between, I suppose this is supposed to be Florentine.
I have no idea what the Gnarl is for or against.
Yeah.
He helps you, but he also bonks you, so it's hard to say.
So we're taking to chapter 5, the offering, when we warp into the tower. And then we return back to the inside of the house. And more runes open up now that we've been to the tower or we have something there, getting us into more of the place. You touch this red handprint on the wall, which lowers this crushing, like an overhead crusher kind of thing.
Yes.
And this basement that you're in, it has some big reptilian ogre demons that cannot be killed with any of your weapons. These are called lopers. The only way to kill them is to lure them onto this pad and then shoot the actuator for the crusher and then squish them real good.
Yeah, you gyromite them.
Yeah.
We step into this temple chamber where there's this key on the ceiling. In order to reach it, we had to stand on top of the sunken pillar and place a serpent statue on this bronze marker to raise it. So the serpent statues, not only are there tons of them, but they are used in multiple ways.
Yeah. So hopefully you were not putting all of them on slots by the sarcophagus when you found them, because otherwise you have to go back and get it. And then you put it on here. You better remember to pick it back up because you're going to need it to open the sarcophagus.
There's something very old school text adventure about that.
Yeah.
You have to take your key with you and remember to grab it.
Yeah.
I can imagine there's a kind of sicko who loves that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's maybe, I understand it. I like old school stuff. I admire a little bit of the verisimilitude of that, but I've just had decades of having that quality of life beaten into me, another way, no other way to say it really.
I'm habituated to it. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, this key will get us down into the caverns, and Rebecca starts hearing this questioning voice, saying, "Oh, restore the balance, find the holy place. You need to find the well, the chamber of the sorcerer."
Yes.
Just throwing out
holy
names.
Place, the well, and chamber of the sorcerer are all the same place. It stops, and we start hearing this laugh in the distance, and then we do a big maze.
Yeah.
Here, this maze. Some later mazes don't have this. This maze actually does have items, so if you are trying to go by the maze honestly, you'll at least find ammo and shit.
Yeah.
Here, some of the later mazes are just featureless. They're just junior jumbles.
Yeah. You are trying to get around. You need to find a red orb. There's also a blue orb you can pick up. And something else, maybe just some items. There's no reason to go down into the floor of the big caverns. You might fall because the walkways can be kind of narrow, and this is a difficult game to move around in.
And you fight
yes.
during it. Since you have breached the sanctum, there are gargoyles called slanderers that attack, who behave like ground enemies, except they're flying.
Yes.
Yeah. And there are tons of them. I don't know if they ever run out.
No. So the end of this, you reach a statue called the Watcher. and it's real belligerent with you. Like, you can talk to it, and it asks for a gift before you can be allowed to make cross this bridge, right? You have to give it the red crystal, and it will disappear and create the bridge. If you give it the blue crystal or anything else, or if you give it lip, then it will kill you.
Yes. Here's another game breaking its rule thing. Mm-hmm. So using the power of Google, I played the American version of this because I wanted to be able to remap the controls on the fly without fucking editing my INI file. Mm-hmm. And then I also wanted the easy puzzle mode because I read what it did. Right? Yes. It's not easy puzzle mode like Silent Hill. It just means that when you click on a thing, if you have the object that can use it, it just automatically selects it. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a serious cheat, but it's really not.
Yeah.
Your inventory in this is like 5 panels wide, 2 panels high, mm-hmm. and you have a very small amount of ability to sort it. So digging through is a real pain, and it's usually obvious what goes somewhere, right? Like a serpent statue goes with the other serpent statues, mm-hmm. you know? So I wanted that feature. So I Googled and got the feature. This is the only puzzle in the game where it automatically makes you use the wrong thing mm-hmm. when you click.
Yeah.
There's a weird mandatory death here. Everything up until this game, when I clicked, the game was just saying like, hey, you're on easy puzzle mode. I'll tell you what it is. Mm-hmm. This time it kills you. I'm so mad. But then how can I be mad at you, Realms of the Haunting? You have the Gnarl. You have Elf.
There are people out there listening to us who are furious because we fucking lit up other games for doing way less bad than this.
I'm kind of lighting this up. Like, if I'm being like, I am so glad I don't have to play this again.
Oh yeah.
Like, I can't believe you played this twice. Like, this is a perfect game for WoF because, you know, as I mentioned before, like, we are doing you a fucking service. I'm not trying to blow our own horn or anything like that, but like, I hope people appreciate this. Nobody should have to play this.
That's what
this
the money's for.
This is an ideal way to. This is what the money's for. This is what you're paying for. Yeah. Is us going through this fucking game and doing this stuff to tell you about it. Don't do it. Like, go and explore it, learn about it, run around, get the atmosphere a little bit.
Yeah.
Do not try to beat this game.
No, not at all.
It gets worse as you go.
Yes.
This kind of stuff happens more and more. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm letting you off the hook. I'm just also pulled in by the malediction prophecyness of it all.
Yes.
You know? No.
With the bridge up, we can cross over into Chapter 6, Journal of Evil, getting us up into a temple. This is marked on the map as an observatory with a little telescope. And in the basement of this observatory, we get a mini-boss called the Icon. It is a really durable gargoyle that can fire energy projectiles. Otherwise, it just takes more ammo to kill.
Yep. You do the same thing you've been doing to everything. Mm-hmm. Beyond this, there's a jumping puzzle with moving platforms that works about as well as you can expect. Like, it makes Zen look perfect as a thing.
Yeah.
This is horrible. Just save and try it until you win. Mm-hmm. After this, you enter a burial room with this dog rat demon thing called the Urge that attacks you. Everything's a new thing.
You never see the Urge again.
No.
On the floor, you find a breastplate. And Alf appears, saying, yes, this is mine. This will provide you great protection and then strengthen our link.
Yes.
And Rebecca is suspicious of it, saying, hey, this has a psychic signature. Alf explains it, saying it's accumulated great power over the centuries. You do not have to pick this up. It does not accomplish anything.
Nope, it's optional.
It just gets you a cutscene.
Yep. I I actually hate that when you put these things on, you don't put on armor, so you don't look like you're wearing golden armor over a duster, which is what I really wanted.
It doesn't modify the damage you take.
No, it doesn't do anything. And the other ones are mostly keys.
Yeah.
But when you put on the breastplate and you look like you're trying on a Halloween costume over your clothes, but then it just sinks into your chest. It like absorbs into you.
Oh, I forgot about that. They actually do animate it like disappearing.
Yeah, it goes into your chest. So we have this now. Nothing happens. We climb up to this habitable part of the observatory and encounter another fucking new proper noun enemy, the Faint.
Yep.
This thing's great. This rat teal demon who's wielding 4 swords at once. Huge, it's a bone mama. Yeah. Feel its sense of humor.
Yeah.
Kind of shit.
Yes. I think you only see, you also do not see the Faint again ever.
I'm so happy. Like, it's so weird. And then, like, that's such a cool idea. You know, it's like, they're going to be unique bosses. I cannot stress to listeners enough. They don't act differently.
Nope.
Like, and they don't take appreciably amounts of time to kill, like different times to kill. Like, every enemy's the same, man. It's like you're fighting the fucking pretzel gallery. Like, Faints is the same, man.
Like, why are we doing this?
Until the guys who can do the hit scan show up, everything is the same.
Yeah.
They look different and they look great. It's just so funny that they didn't give them different behavior or anything. Boggles the mind.
There's a bedroom that has a scepter under it. It's another magical weapon, the Staff of Florentine, which you do not want to use, actually. It is the only magical weapon that actually has limited shots to it. And it also happens to be the only weapon that the end boss of this game has a special weakness to. You can kill it with other stuff. It just takes for fucking ever.
If you use this on other things... Because I ended up using it, and then when I saw it didn't recharge, I looked it up because I was like, what is it? This is a key item. This should one-shot everything.
Oh, God,
since you get 10 bullets in the whole game. It doesn't.
Nope.
It does the same amount of damage as a fucking pistol. Everything is the same.
Yeah. This can also be used. There are like marks on the wall that are like slots for this. If you use it there, it'll warp you to some places.
Really weird that you put the staff in vertically.
Yes.
As a slot instead of horizontally.
Yeah. And this stops you from having to like re-navigate some of these, like you don't have to go back through the cavern to get back to the study. And also if you happen to have forgotten or didn't pick up any of the snake statuettes, either, the 2 missing ones, it will take you roughly to where they are found.
Yeah. Yep. The office here has a magnifying glass we can get, a sketch of a sword with the pommel blacked out in ink. Wonder what that is. And a map of the Raquia maze, which we'll need soon.
You get to the observatory room where all the telescopes are, and you find a table that has a solar system chart where Venus is marked. And Rebecca says, yes, Venus is also called the Morning Star. Yes, the devil has many names.
Yes. We have the letters we've been seeing from RF imply that they're in the cult of the Morning Star.
Yes.
This is the earliest hint of that twist. Here. We find the first part of Florentine's journal. It contains a key. The script is incredibly hard to read. This one I did read, but as I said, I stopped reading them because I stopped wanting to go back and forth to the wiki.
Yeah.
Here. The thing you can note, even without reading Impossible Cursive, is that it spans centuries.
Yeah. From 1330 to 1521.
Yes.
Yeah. And written by Florentine, talking about his Temple of the Morning Star and the efforts to understand these forces of the tower and break these seals across the realms. Way back at the beginning, the thing that gave him his immortality, as he was exploring these realms, he found this Sword of Souls, also has multiple names, from the Chamber of the Soul Stone.
Yep.
It burned him, started burning him when he touched it, and then it went missing.
Yep. That's where he finds out the ire there. And the gardeners, the people who guide visitors, the gardeners are really funny because the guy who Raphael was a gardener. And then the other gardeners are just like weird golems, like monsters that don't move here. He talks about his right-hand man, Belial, has traveled the world seeking acolytes. And he works with the keeper of the abyss, Abaddon, to find a way into Raquia by appealing to its guardian force, Raziel. Fucking dying at this point. Like this is so many nouns. And I can't, we're in chapter 6 of 20. This is just going to keep cooking. Every single one of these nouns is spinning out into more. Like, it never stops. It's incredible.
It's been 3,000 years since the malediction, the spirit plague created by the Order, a fabled army of immortals seeking to unravel the genome of were shaman Erasmus Nugent, who seeks to rebuild La Cienega, a bioweapon capable of stopping Hancho, the deathless vampire king, who seeks to conquer the Fontanelle, the mythical fortress of demon hybrid Gary Shadowburn, who seeks to unleash angel killer Lanny Wendigo Jr., who seeks to release the Blood Froth, a terrifying evil that seeks to return the world to darkness. When I say something is the malediction prophecy, that's what I'm referring to.
This is this is more complicated. The malediction prophecy is this.
Yeah.
Like, this is more complicated than the malediction prophecy.
That's from an old image blog called Liartown USA. They did a bunch
There's
of
a book.
There is. It's a great book.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. It's a summary of a fake Netflix movie. So when I say malediction prophecy, that is what I'm referring to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ludicrous. So this key opens a small cabinet here in the observatory bedroom. It gives us another snake, the last one. We return to the basement, enter this crawl space, this teleporter room where the staff of Florentine activates a device that is shaped like it, which powers the pad, which we can now go to the study again.
Right. Taking us to Chapter 7, Beyond the Gate. So using the staff does get us the other statuettes if you miss them. Placing them lets you open the sarcophagus. It opens, and instead of having a cool little warp in there, it is just a ladder down to an illogical space.
Yes.
You walk down this hallway and eventually kind of emerge on this bridge over the sea in this kind of, hazy sunset realm.
Yep. There's on this, after you pass through this, you're in a chamber with a huge clock on the floor. Mm-hmm. There are levers to manipulate it. You have to set it to the time. You found the time in the mansion. It has to be the correct time.
Yeah.
That's a puzzle on its own.
Yes. So there's a clock in the study that you can interact with. And as you turn the hands to like 6 o'clock, a little chamber on it opens up. And that is a clue that this is the time you need to put in here to open up the door to the other side.
Yes. As above, so below. Mm-hmm. As little clock is big clock.
Yes.
The door on the far end of the clock opens, and a voice recites a rhyme that mentions guarding your heart from the fire. You have to equip a shield that you have here, which we've picked up before. Not useful in combat, but useful for this.
Yeah.
As you climb the stairs. You head into the temple, there's a new enemy, the Agi. These dorky snake men.
Yeah. Pretty good. 2-headed snake men. And there are fountains with magic water with chalices next to them. You can fill the chalice with water and use it like a weapon. There are some enemies that this will kill. This is the only place that you can fill them up. You need this water to proceed and get the right thing in the next chamber.
For puzzles.
Yeah.
You step out into this lava chamber and stand on this mosaic on the ground, and a voice speaks to you. This is Hawk, saying its link to Rebecca has been severed. It's imprisoned in another plane. It's speaking to us through the seal. So to free him, we must get the key of tears to open the lock. And do that, we must go through the tower and walk with the spirits. Our hint to go to Raquia, the realm of the spirit.
Yes. And the voice then disappears. There are 2 doors on either side of this chamber that are marked with a fish. And if you throw the holy water onto them, the door will open. Inside each of these small rooms is a blade. One of which seems to be the sword of the dragon, which Rebecca recognizes, and the other one is like a little dagger. If you take the sword of the dragon, you will die in the upcoming encounter. You need to get the small dagger, which is Alf's dagger. Yeah,
this is like the Grail. Yeah. Like you choose the humble option, right? So as we come out, we meet Belial the first time.
Yeah.
I think Belial looks cool.
Yep.
Just looks like a nerd.
No.
Here, but he's wearing gloves made of hands.
Yep.
I really like that.
Yeah.
That's for sigil reasons.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's some like U-Men shit.
Yeah. He has taken the skin of somebody who has the brands that Adam has, so he can touch those things.
Yes.
It's not directly explained. You see him making them and putting them on. But it's pretty easy to infer. I like that. And he says, hand over the shrive, with his menacing, horror movie doctor kind of vibe. And you get several options of how to respond. One of them is, what shrive? This is what you say to make Adam use the sword to zap Belial.
Yes. And this will only work once. We're going to find out.
Yeah.
So enemies spawn in. This goes us into chapter 8, the Mark of the Beast. Enemies spawn in, more of these icons. A new enemy called Shadows. These are the dorky men in suits, like Slender Men. They have hit scan guns. They also have a projectile, which is not that big a deal, but the hit scan gun is a problem.
Yes. It's only effective at a certain range, after which they will shoot the projectiles. It just means, most of the time when these show up, I run. They never pop in a place where you're forced to deal with them.
No. And there's no reason you don't get anything from fighting anyone in this game. You only do it when you have to.
Right.
It's not part of the resource curve. There's no XP, stuff like that.
So we run back to the study, and nothing seems different. We go into the entry hall, and a symbol on that door opens up. We can now get into the eastern wing of the mansion.
Yes. Through the door, there's this room with a summoning circle on the ground surrounded by candles. We say, this seems good, and light them up. And we get a cutscene of an invisible presence showing up and then disappearing. And then afterwards, we fight the beast, a four-legged axe demon that moves very slowly, that we do the same thing we've done to every monster.
Yep.
Just for longer.
Step into another room and shoot it as it tries to get to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But it drops something. So again, that happens every once in a while in this game. Drives me nuts. It's really hard to see when something drops something. That you might kill them next to a door in a way that makes the thing seem hard to get, but it's key.
What if you kill what if you kill him when he's close to you and then it drops out of your field of view and you think, okay, nothing, and then you walk past it? It might just seem when you come back through arbitrarily, it's there now.
It's fallen on the floor. Yeah, you're just stuck at the point. He drops a small idol of a woman holding a book.
Right.
Yeah.
This eastern wing, there's not a whole lot happening. There's some pickups. There's another magical weapon called the flintlock you can get that's in a ritual chamber guarded by a mini boss demon. Flintlock's good. Another recharging weapon. Seems to recharge a little bit faster to full power, which is nice.
Yeah, but you can't use it when it's not full power.
Right.
It explodes. It doesn't seem to do AoE, but it looks like a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
And like what it does. But if we're slowly acquiring a crew of rechargeable weapons to lean on to save our ammo until we don't really need ammo anymore.
Yeah.
We near the teleporter pad here in the northeast courtyard as we go out, and this bull demon kind of thing appears, roars, then disappears. And this gate is disabled. It looks like this thing is disabling the gates.
Yes. We're going to learn that this thing is super important. It just seems like another Mortal Kombat demon right now.
Yep.
Yeah. The northeastern corner of the manor has this door with an idol-shaped slot next to it. When you insert it, you get into the library. Make sure you take the idol with you. It's another one of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we go into the library. This enters chapter 9, By the Seven Be Bound. And the library has this ghostly voice that comes through. Say, basically a security system. Like, identify yourself. I'm sorry, can I get you anything? You're being unusually quiet. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to activate security if you don't give the passphrase. Well, I guess we're going to have to activate security. Security is one fucking Goomba. It's like one Yielder pops up.
It's a fun little comedy.
Then it never happens again.
It's
cool. Like, I also like him having the assistant, ghost assistant, I think is kind of fun.
Yes.
There. But yeah, this does not come up again.
Yeah. Mostly what we're getting here is lore. There's a parchment on the table that has an account of visiting Raquia, this realm that is beautiful to the eye, but has somebody there, this jailer named Raciel, who will pose a riddle to visitors, and those who cannot answer are kept in the dungeons below. People who can solve the puzzle will get into a tower to find the Key of Tears, which we know we must get to get Hawk out, but they have to be stealthy because if the jailer wakes, then it will hunt you.
Yes. Another parchment here gives accounts of the legends and locations around Cornwall, the Devil's Stone, the Furry Dance, St. Michael's Mount, things like that.
Yeah.
These are just little background details, supernatural things that have been happening that are actually because of the machinations of the villain.
Yes.
Of this.
Yeah.
There's tons of those. We saw one in the first room with about crop circles.
Yes.
That's going to turn out to be about this as well. So
we take the statuette from the door and walk around to another door that it unlocks, leading to a basement maze. This is the only maze that does the thing that mazes ought to do.
Like a gimmick.
Yeah, like a gimmick. Like, you're not actually solving the maze by trial and error. You have to notice something, which is there's a trail of dead rats on the ground that will lead you to where you need to go.
Yeah. Sometimes they make crunching noises. Sometimes you step on them.
Yeah.
So you follow the rats. Enter this big chamber and eavesdrop on the hat guy. He's inspecting this gigantic demonic stone, taking a green crystal from it, and says, "By the 7 be bound, thy will be done," and then limps off stage very slowly.
Mm-hmm. Something about these cutscenes, they often have very long intros or outros of nothing happening. Either somebody like very slowly walking out of out of frame, or just Adam like just milling around and looking before noticing the thing that is right in front of him.
It's real weird given that space was a concern.
Yes.
Right? Like I can kind of respect that artistically, but also they canonically did not have a space to include all of the footage they shot on a CD-ROM, including relevant plot details.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they could have edited and fit in a little bit out.
Yeah. There's an editor never touched this, Gary.
No, this is one of the least edited things I've ever played.
This takes us into Chapter 10, the Key of Tears, where we pull this lever behind the altar, getting into this warp room. Takes us to the tower, and we have to use the symbols on the map to get over to Raquia. There are red dragon enemies here. This is the only enemy that feels different from others, primarily in that it is an enemy who will kill you in like 3 shots.
Yeah. Yep. And it's hard to run away or get cover in the tower. Here.
Yeah.
We get past these guys and get to Raquia. And one of the things that's a subversion of this I like is that both of the non-hell realms are weird kind of paradises.
Yes.
It's a really refreshing aesthetic change to walk into a Windows 95 screensaver. This beautiful idyllic garden here. We follow this path to the tower and we encounter Raciel, this floating mote of light. And say, we say what we're here for. We're looking for a key. He says, listen, there are consequences. If you fail, you're going to be imprisoned until Judgment Day.
Which is very soon. Rebecca remarks like, well, at least it won't be long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also doesn't seem that bad to be imprisoned in Raquia. But,
yeah. We never see the prison, though, so it might be, I don't know. It might be a Buffalo Wild Wings.
It's true. It could be the haunted B-dubs.
But he lays out what we have to do. We have to find a ring. We have to solve his puzzle and then pass by his ear without waking him. And then when he disappears, we step into this maze beyond him. And we have a map that'll tell us where like the key areas to aim for are.
Yep. We go into these clearings to get the items. Earplugs, this jeweled haunch of meat. Here, there's a button that lowers its platform so we can grab it. Some panpipes. They're behind some awful platforming here. Just very, very difficult. And they have funny riddles for them. My voice unheard, no opening makes, but only play the barriers break.
Served hot or cold. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. If left out, it will grow mold. The final item is the spirit ring, which we get behind a timed platforming section. Over a pool of water. Adam drowns really fast in this. You can go in water, it doesn't instantly kill you, but you have to walk your way out.
It's Kingsfield 4 level of drowning.
Yes, you just start immediately drowning here. Pretty irritating platforming.
Yeah. But with the ring, we can now get through this gate to the grounds of this large castle, this tower, and a unique enemy attacks. This is a robotic lion. And Rebecca reminds you, like, hey, we can't make any noise, so no fighting. We have to find a way to deal with it. The way to do that, you have to use the jeweled haunch on it, and it will start trying to eat it, and thus be kept busy. Yeah.
And now we're in the quiet zone, basically. The idea here is we go through these different rooms, these test chambers of the tower without making noise. The first one is a platforming room. The floor has a bunch of gears, which we're supposed to intuit means a clock will go off if we touch it. So that's no good. It's really irritating platforming.
Yeah.
We reach a room with a bunch of doors off of it. The panpipes will open up this music note door. So we can get inside and get a jar of oil and some spectacles. A bunch of these are straight up gotchas.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about, you need to save constantly.
Yeah. Another room here has a woman floating in the center of it. Getting close to her will cause damage to you. And you have to use the earplugs so that you can get close because she's a siren, right?
Yep. There's a library with these piles of books. Walking in between them will cause the books to fall over, which will make a noise. But you can put on the magical glasses, and it reveals they have little laser trip mines between them that knock the books over.
Yeah.
So you have to navigate that. There is a chapel that has a stained glass window with gems in it. You need to take those out and put them into the points marked Roy G. Biv to get the rainbow key.
There's a talking door that requires a password. That is what you got in the book room, that parchment there. You cannot guess at this. You just have to have that item, and then you can say spirit. There's a room that is frozen over. You have to use some of the hot liquid you got from another room to melt the floor so it doesn't make loud cracking noises when you walk across.
There's a wooden floor room where you find an armlet, which just makes you not have the floor creak.
Doesn't make a goddamn lick of sense.
Doesn't make any sense. It's all pretty arbitrary. This is the one also where you use the oil on the door that creaks when it opens, right?
Yeah.
That's such a gotcha. Like, you just open the door. There's no way for you to know it's going to make noise.
It's Hitchhiker's Guide shit. Yeah.
It's real Hitchhiker's Guide shit. Again, just save constantly. For this. The end result of this is this rainbow gem that we get that activates an elevator to the upper level. We get to the final room, which is full of these damaging gems we have to navigate around, just floating in space here. We get to that in order to complete the spirit ring.
Yes.
However, we don't want to put it on yet. It's not time to put it on.
Nope. You have to wait. It doesn't communicate. So like, I finally can complete the ring. If you do it, you're just shot by lasers from out of nowhere in the cutscene. It doesn't communicate to you that the crystals need to go away before you can put this on safely.
Lord.
Yeah, you have to. And also you have to be in another room and stand on a plinth before you use the ring.
Yes, before you put it on.
Yeah. And then also talk about feedback. When you do it in there, you're still assaulted by lasers, and it's painful according to the acting, but you survive. And this gives this makes Raziel give you the ring of the key.
Is there anything that Armlet can't do? So we have the key.
Yeah,
we can inspect it, and provokes a reminder that we need to use it to rescue Hawk. Don't just use it for fun. There's a lot of talk about how it's not a key like in a traditional sense. It has magic in it that will be spent.
Yeah,
that makes me wonder if there are things you could open with it to get non-standard game overs. It feels like the game is really bending over backwards to be like, no, use this for the thing. Yeah. Instead of just only letting you use it for the thing it wants you to use it for.
Yeah. The only thing where it will actually be, you actually can use it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have to go all the way back.
Yes. And getting out of Raquia will be a little bit tougher because enemies, including Shadows, the guys in suits, the John Constantines, and Icons will warp in. Also, there will be traps in the maze, like gates that will pop up in front of you and chainsaws, hilariously just chainsaws.
Yeah. Real haunted hedge maze shit. We get back to the mansion. It's been repopulated with new enemies, some of which are tougher.
Yeah.
We get to the study, we go out to the clock room, and we use the key, or marking this well-named key of tears, and turn it on the lock. And then we see Hawk. And Hawk looks like a military recruitment ad. He is just a buff man in a t-shirt. And this is the avatar of all good. And they ran out of costumes.
They just found a guy.
It's just like, hey man, I know you're doing your gym break during lunch, but do you want to be Hawk? And he doesn't do a bad job acting at all.
No.
He's fine, but for some reason he's just not costumed.
Not at all.
Like t-shirt and cargo pants. Yeah. It's really strange.
And again, because of the way this is shot, you only ever see him from the chest up. And if he has anything going on costuming wise, his collar looks very much just like a regular crew neck t-shirt.
Crew neck, like olive green, like army green. He looks military to me because he also has the buzz cut.
Yeah, he's got the cropped hair. Yeah.
And chapter 11, this is the first time we ask questions about what's going on. We've met so many fucking guys from other realms, and we have one with us. And this is the first time we're like, let's ask all the questions we have. Ludicrous. Like, I understand it from they didn't want you to know, so they wanted to have a mystery and stuff, but it made Adam seem very unreal to me. So fucking weird.
He's Hawk is the first person who passed the vibe check, So
I would have asked Elf.
Yeah, I mean,
Alf seemed good. I mean, Alf wouldn't have told you.
Yeah,
I would have asked Rebecca as the real answer.
Yeah, Alf talked in math. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
That's true.
So you just ask about people. You ask about proper nouns, saying like, "Oh, Alf is the product of of the Soul Stone, and so is Gaul, and Belial. Belial being the demon of lies. So so is he. Yeah. Everybody's a product of the Soul Stone. But Belial was raised when Florentine pulled the sword from it. This is the first time a Soul Stone is mentioned.
Yes.
As well. That's the thing we saw in the opening. Florentine is immortal as long as Belial lives. And now they are both struggling to gain Satan's favor.
Yes. Satan. Everything has a name in this, and now all of a sudden they just straight up pull out Satan.
Yep.
So there's Gaul. Gaul is the hat guy, and Hawk are also products of the Soul Stone. Gaul is going to become the host of Ultimate Darkness, the ultimate host of darkness. He has a shard from the Soul Stone in order to get to Sheol, where the Soul Stone is held. Hawk is the ultimate fighting, the opposite of that.
Yeah, the ultimate good.
Yes. We're going to need 2 Soul Stones also to get to Sheol.
Yes. We ask about Raphael, and it says, he is of the same blood as Alf, but not related, and it is not expounded upon.
I saw that online someone say this might have been reference to them being the same actor, and maybe? I didn't notice that they could be the same actor because of the resolution and stuff.
Maybe.
Yeah. They might have conserved a role in this once. As opposed to cutting Raphael.
Yeah.
Which once. Yeah, it doesn't really tell you very much useful.
Yeah. Raphael is not listed in the cast as far as I can tell.
We just imagined Raphael.
Yeah.
You can ask about places. Sheol is the topmost layer of hell, with the pit as the bottom. Arqua is the realm of divinity, holding the Garden of Paradise and the Tree of Understanding, which Adam and Eve ate from.
Yeah.
These you can be like, what are these little pieces, these crumbs I've been holding?
Yeah. What's this shit?
Around with?
Yeah.
What are these objects I have? There's 6 of the 7 seals that bind the universe together. Oh,
okay.
Only 1 remains on the Soul Stone. Here we have 6 of them, so we have to make sure we keep all of them there.
You can ask about the Shrive. And like when you do this, Adam's actor just like throws it up in the air to makes it flip and then catches it and then looks at Rebecca's actress real
hugely
proud.
Hugely on Kennedy. Yeah. Hugely on Kennedy energy. Nice shot.
Yes. Yeah. And Hawk doesn't say what this is. It says like, the fact that you can hold that means that you have the brands, and that means you are the one to take up the sword eternal.
Dying. The Soul Stone is the neutrality of the universe. Man's thoughts travel through it like a conduit, and evil thoughts create a minion. So that's why there are these little ghouls running around.
Right.
We end the conversation. Hawk says, "You're the only one who can hold the sword of eternity." And he says, "Rebecca, I can impart some knowledge on you."
Yeah.
Here. Grabs her hand, and she sees a little flash reel of all of our people.
Yes.
There. And he says, you can find eternity in the place where Michael rules. And Adam is a little bit suspicious that they did a mind meld.
Yeah.
Here, but not suspicious for the right reasons exactly.
Seems jealous. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we're just sent to get another doodad. Yeah.
In chapter 12, St. Michael's, there's a teleporter beyond where Hawk talks to you, and it will take you to another human inhabited area. This St. Michael's church and the neighboring house where your dad used to live, where Adam's dad used to live.
Yeah, he used to sleep on his many soiled mattresses. There's a little circuit here with doors that have these exploding seals on them. You can't, if you open them, they'll blow up in your face. You have to get this wand and magic flashlight to see the seals and dispel them.
Yeah.
With wand, it's also a rechargeable weapon.
Yeah. You ultimately get to this dingy study area after this long chain of just unlocking doors and find a journal that will explode when you pick it up, but you can still read it. It's another part of Florentine's journal. And there's another key inside for you. Talks about Florentine's dreams of the sword and the soul stone that have been haunting him ever since he separated the two of them. And how his campaign to get into the tower and get to Sheol, it's not going so great. He wants to break the seals, but things are conspiring. Not only the ire, but also this thing called the Dodger, which was created when he took the Soul Stone as well.
Yeah, he mentioned that before. The last entrance talks about this confrontation with the Dodger, which Belial seems to have been consumed by fire.
Yes.
We know Belial's still around though.
Yeah.
So we head over to the church. We kill this demon. It drops a coin that we drop in the donation box to get into the church here. And there's stained glass all around here, including one of your mother. Is that cool for a preacher to do? To just put up a stained glass idol to their dead wife
in the Renaissance
in their church.
In the Renaissance times, biblical figures would often be depicted as relatives of the patron who did this. This isn't Renaissance times, though.
Yeah, it's weird. It's also it looks really scary because of that weird faux 3D, angle thing. This image looks terrifying, and you're like, that's my mother. She's quite pretty. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. That's other mother stuff. There's other stained glass in here as well.
Yeah, which is St. Michael casting these demons out of heaven. And you can see these two feathers in it. And when you look at it, these two feathers fall to the ground, one red and one green, which I'm sure was a treat for you, Gary.
Oh, two feathers. Yeah. Just regular feathers.
But apparently this was the hardest shot in the entire game to get. Took like 2 full days just to film 2 feathers falling. That is from the making of video.
Arguably not worth it.
Yeah.
For the results. Inside the cathedral, we find this tiara. We put on a small statue along with the green feather, indicated by the mural. It shows a green winged angel, so we know which feather. This opens up a compartment with Elf's helm.
Yeah.
We pick this up, and Elf explains that the helmet is the passport to Arqua, the realm of the divine. You put on the helmet, and then it resorbs into your skull.
It says, hey, though Arqua is the most beautiful of the realms, it is easy to lose your purpose there. And we cannot have 2 realms that are beautiful but deceptive. Please.
Yes. So we're like, what? Why are we in Arqua? And Elf quizzes Adam about the metaphors he spoke of. He talked in metaphors before. The open eye is Rebecca, the wings of angels are the feathers, and the last one is about the sword of the dragon.
Yes.
So that's what we're after.
Yeah. And we go to this warp pad, which takes us to the tower. And as we're headed to the Raquio warp, we get this voice that addresses us before we go in, saying that any items that mirror the elements have been temporarily taken away from you. And only Adam can touch the Sword of Eternity, can take it.
Yep. Yeah. Basically means you're not going to have your inventory. You're not going to be doing inventory stuff. Yeah. All of it's procure on site.
There's also no combat.
Yes. You get a scroll, though. It takes everything out of your inventory and puts one thing in here, which is a scroll that says you must combine the elements at the Ring of 8 and place them correctly because they will conjure the presence of Havaza.
Yeah. And when you see the face of Tistria, take the elements and combine them.
I'm dying. It's incredible. Like it's like something you'd make up to make fun of stuff like this. But again, I cannot stress to people listening, it's so earnestly presented. Like the writers of this game were like, we are fucking cooking. This is good shit.
Yeah.
It ends up having this effect that is like, again, it doesn't feel like anything else.
Nothing. Yeah. It is one of a kind. Where are my Havaza heads at?
Yeah. I love Havaza. Havaza is one of the water elementals from the TLC Waterfalls video. We're going to find out as well. It says when the scent of success sweetens the air, you will achieve your mind's desire. Give me these little hints about how you're going to combine elements.
Yes. So you've got to get some components here. You've got to teleport to 2 mini realms that are Asher-esque to get a chalice and a magnifying glass before you go up to the top level of the palace, which is hilarious because there's no stairway. It's just a warp that takes you up 1 level.
Yep. A one-way warp.
Yeah.
You get there and you use this, the chalice, you fill up water, you splash these barriers to get into these corner rooms where there are these plates that tell you what you need to do.
Yeah.
There's burn, grind, bong is one of them, bong. And the last one is invisible. You have to fan it.
Yes.
To reveal this scroll in there that also says burn.
Yes.
Through here.
And you're grabbing all of these little items that you need to combine in particular ways, and then you need to combine their products. So like you combine flint and steel on paper to make flame, which opens the burn plate. You get some tinder. You grind using mortar and pestle. You get the grind plate. You get a water pipe, literally just a bong.
Yes.
And they make jokes about it, like like, hey, it's what are you going to smoke in there, bud? And you do this again to get some amber resin. And then you have to mix this resin powder and the tinder to make some
snow.
Snow, yeah.
Does it make any sense? It also is a drug thing. I was just like, what is happening in the realm of drugs?
Yeah,
here,
and ultimately you have to put all of these products on these icons around the central fountain to cause the water to glitter.
Yes.
It doesn't tell you what you have to do next, but what you need to do is use the water pipe, fill it with snow. Thus,
yes.
This thing made of earth, you need to fill it with snow, turning it into water. Then you need to put in the amber. I don't know what that represents, and then light it, representing fire. Then using fan for wind. And then you have to use the lit pipe on the fountain. You take a huge rip off of this, and it summons an elemental from the Don't Go Chasing Waterfall video.
Yes, Hafaza.
Yeah,
the bong ripping water elemental of this, who you have appeased, who's going to give you the ultimate sword in exchange for a bong hit.
Yeah,
like what is happening?
It's a Lady of the Lake thing, I think, but with drugs.
Yeah, with bong. And the rest of the game has not had that tone. I cannot stress enough that like bong, this came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I was beside myself when I streamed this several years ago.
Yeah, it's really bizarre as a choice. Leave behind eternity.
Yeah,
aka the soul sword, aka 1,000 other things.
Yep, it's a weapon.
Yes.
This is like a master sword kind of thing. It will charge up and it will do a super strong magical blast. Your first attack, and then subsequent attacks will just be sword slashes.
Yeah, but they're good sword slashes.
Yeah,
and you can kind of stun lock things a little bit. Not consistently, but if you hit them, they can always attack back.
Mm-hmm.
They'll kind of freeze in their animation.
Yeah,
so you can shred stuff up with this.
Yes. So you return to the tower for chapter 14, Vengeful Souls. God, these fucking titles. And you attempt to get back to Earth, but you've been waylaid. You get this vision of Belial, who all of a sudden has like a weird warped double face.
Well, it's because you hit him with the dagger.
Oh shit,
you smashed
right.
him in the face with the dagger.
You did. Okay. Yeah. All right. I didn't make that connection. He did get zapped. And he's here tormenting Adam's father. Taunting you, like, are you here, but you can't help. The portal took you to them. And Belial, says, yes, I will fight you. But then Rebecca throws Adam her pendant, and now you are taken prisoner.
This is the funniest thing that's ever happened.
Yes.
Like this is the biggest scene missing thing. You're like, I'm not going to, put this off, Belial. I'm going to fight you. I have the sword. It just immediately cuts to you in a cell. Like the comedy timing of it's incredible.
Smash cut 2.
It's a smash cut 2. You're discussing this over your bachelor party. It is 1,000% an accident, right? Like this is cut content. It's just very funny.
Yeah.
Here. You've been put in a prison cell.
Yeah.
You get this title card that says The Prisoner. It's not the chapter title. It's just the title card. And Belial appears to taunt you. I have the sword and I have the shrive. He's wearing those dead skin gloves so he can touch both of them now. Again, a really cool touch.
Yeah.
And he's going to tend to your dad. You can watch if you wish. And leaves.
Yeah.
And he put you up in a little cell that's in a museum to crapulence. Which is very funny.
Yeah.
All the things that have been happening here that are related to trying to summon Satan.
Yes, there are newspaper clippings up on a bulletin board on the wall talking about how these crop circles were made by the supremacists of Revelation to draw the devil to earth. There is somebody who's been kidnapping French dermatological surgeons, obviously Belial, to make the hand gloves, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool idea. Astronomer was killed. All of his equipment has gone missing. 6 unrelated women went missing. All the people of St. Michael's Parish mysteriously slept through a whole day. That's really cool idea.
I love that. Yeah.
That's great. And then a spate of mysterious house fires have swept Europe.
Right.
Here. You said they're in kill time. This isn't a puzzle to get out or anything. And we hear Rebecca's voice. What she did was she tossed you a pendant that is invisible to Belial for reasons. So she can talk to you. Mm-hmm. She asks where you're at. And then she comes and opens the door and you reunite.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you a big hug. She can't sense your belongings in this realm, so they may have gone through the tower, but right next to it, there is a room full of ammo. Very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is around where the game is definitively stumbling and falling on its ass pretty consistently.
The wheels are wobbling right now. Yeah.
Super wobbly. Like, yeah.
So chapter 15 is super short. This is where the dead lie. We get the graveyard maze map and Florentine's third journal. So Florentine created the Dodger with his thoughts. Again, the Soul Stone making minions for you. And because they're linked, as Florentine gets more and more frustrated and angry about his campaign to end the world going wrong, the Dodger just gets stronger and thus better at thwarting him.
Yes. Belial has grown distant. He stopped showing up there, and Florentine suspects him there. Mm-hmm. And the final entry mentions a dream that Florentine had where his love was with a stranger in the sword chamber, really laying on this twist thick.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah.
We escaped this jail. We head through the graveyard full of shadows, these shadow guys, back to the mansion. We had to burn all 3 of Florentine's journals in the fires to open the gate to the side house. This is I wouldn't have intuited this.
No, not at all.
That this is what I have to do.
No.
You never have to interface in a gameplay way with flavor documents.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily hate that as an idea.
Yeah.
It just, if there had been a hint,
yep.
I think it would have been like, cool, I wouldn't have thought of that. There's not really a hint.
No.
It's just the only thing in your inventory you happen to have 3 of.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up having to look this up. I was stuck here for a good bit.
Yeah. This opens up the way to the graveyard maze for a chapter called The Gate. This whole area is bugged. You're trying to get to a warp to the tower. Because the way it is bugged is if you just put on the mask wherever you stand, it will initiate the warp. So you do not you don't have to go through this maze.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So I pulled up an image of the maze and went through the maze.
Yeah.
It was a maze.
Yep.
You pass through the tower to the Sheol gate. And we find the sword and the shrive just nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Belial just left it there.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know.
No
Again,
reason.
it's the wheels are coming off. This is Darkest Dungeon 2 where you're like, you have one wheel left. Like we are unicycling our way to the finish line in this game.
And this is the chapter where the game takes a dive into outright terrible.
In terms of playing it.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah. This is awful. Everything here is awful. Everything from now on, that's not a cutscene, is the worst.
Yes. So now that we have the sword and the shrive, we can warp to Sheol, and we're greeted by Abaddon, this hooded guy, and he says, "Yes, 3 passed through before you. Their signatures were lies, hope, and abandon." And Rebecca just gives you the key for that. Oh yeah, it's Belial, Hawk, and Gaul. Yep.
And we enter Sheol. Sheol is this Geiger-esque like wall of bones, dark necromantic thing. You can always hear a heartbeat. The way out of this is fucking nuts.
Mm-hmm.
There is a machine that you feed brains into. And the way you know this is because it has 2 brains on it and then a little brainometer that, like you're fundraising. Like if we collect enough brains, our scout troop gets to go to the Grand Canyon. And every time it raises a brain up on the brainometer. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah.
There's this little...
You just got to feed it brains. It'll tell you haven't brought enough brains yet.
Yeah, you have to get up to 16 brains. So you just navigate a maze that's just full of brains, finding these brains on the ground. There's no map for this maze.
Yeah.
This sucks so bad.
It's
knowing whether you are backtracking or like you just missed an offshoot or missed a brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is really bad.
It's extremely bad. Combined with the previous stuff that we mentioned about stuff not necessarily being visible from all angles.
Yes.
Also, that applies to hallways. Like it is very easy to miss that there's a lower floor to this. The entire area is it's kind of symmetrical, but not exactly. And if you miss one, like if you end up with 14 brains or something, you have to go back through everything again. It is also not clearly communicated whether or not you have to interact with these 3 big hearts and machines in the 4 corners of this place. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Sometimes the brain will just spawn right next to it. Sometimes you have to go and touch all 4 of these things to make it happen. It is so fucking bad that I wish that I had better words to describe how tedious and frustrating and demoralizing this is.
It's one of the worst things we've done in the show.
Yeah.
Like, it's not necessarily the worst one, right? Like, that's, there's tight competition for that.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst things that I've seen in my storied career.
And
the flavor is ludicrous. Like, just, there being brains on the floor and you feed them into the brain bot. Like, why? Well, you're in a Geiger realm. This could be anything. Like, and the game does not need to slow down its pace at this point.
No, not at all.
It feels like we're going towards a conclusion. We got the sword. I get them taking it from us at the last minute, having this little bit of like darkness before the dawn kind of thing. But we're on chapter 16 of 20. There was no need for another maze here.
No, not at all.
Or any of the stuff that follows this.
We've been through so many mazes. The flavor of this being incongruous, it's impossible to be mad at that. A, because I like the flavor and nothing has been incongruous. The list of like mechanical sins, of design sins that this commits, it's like that post about like, welcome to the Hawaiian Roll forum, And it's like, I would name the rules you broke, but it seems like you read them and broke every one.
On purpose, yeah.
Yeah.
The incongruousness, the reason why I bring that up is that they had an opportunity to do something that wasn't a game you would make for a tutorial to learn maze chases in Game Maker.
Yeah. Like
just going and getting the brains from the Geiger realm, it feels like something from column A and column B.
Yeah.
When this could have been really cool. We're in fucking hell. We're in the top level of hell. We just met, Abaddon. Like the gatekeeper of hell. Like, this should be a lot cooler than just finding assets and sticking them into an asset hole.
Yeah.
Incredible. Just absolutely incredible. Mind-blowing. So enemies pop out. These xenomorph enemies, after you feed the brainometer all the brains. These are called wielders. They're all around the maze.
Yeah.
And eventually we lower this big gate to a big demon called Vine.
Yeah.
Here. Still getting new demons.
Still new demons. You kill Vine. There's a scroll that he drops that I didn't pick up that changes a cutscene a little bit later. This also happens, with something else. But you enter the archway and you go back to the threshold, right, where you saw Abaddon before. And when you return, you're in the middle of something. You stumble in on Abaddon struggling with Rebecca. She's been here the whole time. She didn't go with you. And he's telling her, forget the boy. And then he pulls down his hood, revealing himself to be none other than Florentine.
Dun, dun, dun. And he tells Rebecca Jane to tell Adam that she's a traitor. She's the RJ from the letters.
Yeah.
She was Florentine's disciple and mistress. And then Florentine laughs and leaves. He's here to torture you.
Yes.
And Adam can't really handle that she fucked this other dude.
Yeah.
In this other way. And she says like, oh, he promised me so much, and he says, never, you'll lose my number. Never talk to me again. I'm out.
Yeah.
Seems
like she was helping you not end the world. So
nonstop.
Yeah.
It is just, she's a double agent. But Adam can't understand this until he immediately forgives her in a second, because we're in this weird stretch rush to the end.
So you step through your gate and then you go into a throne room, and Adam encounters a clone of himself, who says, goodness reflects light, something about the darkness, blah, blah, blah. And he says, choose properly and the gate will be yours. Because we have warped to the halls of Doppelgangus.
Say the line. Doppelgangus.
The halls of Doppelgangus. The choice that he lays out, there is no choice to be made here.
No, this makes no sense. This reminds me of teenage fiction. I mentioned before the guy me and Derek knew growing up, who wrote a lot of fiction, and it was all, really cringy as it is in teenager.
Yeah.
So, I get it. The stuff I wrote when I was teen was also horrible. Yeah. But it was all stuff like this. Like, it was he did this story about his mom was kind of like a yuppie, and he was real into neutrality. What he called it.
Oh, God.
And this was his early way of being like kind of trying to be apolitical.
Okay.
Real teenager, like, why does everyone care as much?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So he wrote a story about meeting the god of neutrality, and who is called like Neutralis or something like Doppelgangus. And the name of the story, I kid you fucking not, was Yaddle Yaps of Yuppie Yuck. So that was, yeah.
Yaddle, huh?
Yep. Going and meeting Neutralitus or whatever. the god of neutrality, to complain about his mom in a thinly veiled short story about how his mom was kind of a yuppie. Just incredible stuff. And Doppelgengus has that whole, very much that kind of thing. Oh, and he made a D&D world at one point called Leprechaunus. No points for guessing what was there. The halls of Doppelgengus. So this is where you meet the real Abaddon. He's trapped in this red pillar of light, the center of the chamber. He says, you're connected to the prophecy, because of how you interact with the thread. Most of the time will correct itself, but you conduct rather than flow with the current.
Now the thread is being introduced.
The thread is now introduced.
It's another
Chapter
way.
16.
It's another way in which you're the one. Not only have you been branded, but you are a manipulator of the thread.
Of the thread. The thing that is born from the soul stone.
Uh-huh.
So the key to the abyss is 3 tests connected to the arch that brought us to Sheol. Again, get fucked. This doesn't need anything more.
Nope, it doesn't.
Here,
I'm done.
we don't need to be doing these things.
I'm full.
I'm so full. Every meal is all you can eat.
Yeah.
So this introduces, since it's Doppelgengus, there's a demon that emerges from all these mirrors. And we had to go around breaking the mirrors. I think it's kind of fun that like this thing that was just a Duke Nukem-esque environmental fun thing you can do is actually a mechanic now.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah, this is fine mechanically. I've got no problem with it. It's still you need to break 16 mirrors just like you found 16 brains.
What do you get? Another day older and smarter in debt. Like
this lets you return to the grotto. And this time we find Hawk wrestling a demon.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
He rips his rotten head off and throws it like it's a volleyball.
It's great. Hawk's one of my favorite characters in this, not just because he's only wearing a t-shirt, but because he does stuff like that without commentary.
Yeah.
He's like, I have to go to the Chamber of the Soulstone to meet with Gaul for the Gathering. This only happens at the capital of the Gathering. This only happens every 1,000 years. If Florentine gets there first, Gaul will be filled with ultimate evil.
Yeah.
But you're also prophesized to be there. Like nothing can start until everyone's there.
It's a gathering.
Everything that's happened up until this point in the game was basically unnecessary. That was what it's telling me.
Now we get
and then you chapter 17,
the father of lies.
Yes. We go to this arch in the central chamber, and there are 8 very puzzly puzzles.
Yes.
In these rooms off of the spokes. This is a little bit like Requia, like the be quiet puzzles.
Yeah.
Except even more artificial.
Yes.
Than that.
No explanation, is just a chamber with some doodads or a maze, and you have to get to the far end and touch a panel and then get out.
Yep. We need a gameplay climax to this, and the combat climaxes are going to be ludicrous.
Yeah.
So we shift these pillars around with a board to create this path over lava. You have to realize you can move diagonally to make this work. You can't jump because they have low ceilings.
Yeah.
The pillars you move around. You have to rock around this grid. This is just trial and error. And then on the way back, the floor turns into acid to make your way back. Again, just trial and error.
Yeah. There's a grid maze with some mirrors that you need to shoot, but you have to jump over the intersection of all the paths. They're raised. And if you step on them, fireballs come at you. Yeah.
And do just like tons of damage.
Yeah.
Huge attrition thing. This room has this panel with 7 levers. You do this to clear a path for these 2 guns that will shoot at these mirrors.
Yeah.
Across the way. So it's like almost like pins in a lock.
Yeah.
You're making sure they're all down or all up.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah. Each of the levers like moves multiples of them, and it's not necessarily predictable what it's going to do.
It's not lights out. Like it seems like it's going to be lights out where there's a relation, but there's not.
There's not, no.
Yeah.
I love this dinky little shooting gallery, which is just rotate this gun to shoot these gems. And it's not limited shots or anything. You just make an adjustment, shoot, and then, I'm a little bit to the left. To move it right. Okay, shoot.
The gun is 2D.
Uh-huh.
It looks so silly, and you mention what the gem is every time you shoot it. Or the guy goes, amethyst. Like, it just doesn't, it's real weird. There's a green crystal cube maze. This is one of my least favorite things in puzzles, and this is something that Myst games do as well.
Okay.
Where you are manipulating a panel for a maze, but you can't see them both at the same time.
Yeah.
You're just walking back and forth, so you're like, move a little thing, then move to the right, look at the thing, move back, move the panel, etc.
Yeah.
That's one of my least favorite things that Cyan does, or not Cyan.
Yeah, it's Cyan. Cyan Worlds.
Yeah, Cyan.
Yeah.
Shit, I got it. Yeah, Cyan Worlds does.
Yeah.
It's irritating here. At least you're right next to it.
Yeah. I hate this. You have to rotate these 12 floating balls using these dials to guide an energy blast to target a mirror. You cannot walk in, so you can't get near it and see the energy ball move from different angles. So which direction it needs to go, you just kind of have to intuit it basically by looking at it, interpreted 3D space in 2D.
The perspective is bad. You're running into Space Harrier shit where you don't know exactly how far something is or which way it's facing.
Yeah.
Because it's just a sprite. Really bad.
Yeah.
And then a mirror maze here, which is a maze that's partly mirrors. This would be found on the first layer of hell, and then also the carnival from Us.
Yeah.
This is also a classic thing the Joker fights Batman in.
Uh-huh.
But it's in the ultimate realm as well.
This might have been a graphical thing. Could you see the walls of the mirror maze, Gary?
I can see the walls.
I couldn't see the walls. Instead, it was just the moving pattern on the floor. And sometimes it would seem like you were running into another copy of you because there was nothing to indicate that it was a mirror that you were pressing into. So when I call this a motion sickness maze, I had to navigate it entirely by looking at the pattern and seeing where the pattern started moving into itself. It's a really uncanny effect that I do not know if I can duplicate. You had a much easier time of it, I think.
It didn't bug me too much.
Yeah,
through here.
I hated it.
It's not unirritating. The main reason why I didn't think it was another copy of me is because we've already dealt with doppelgangers.
Yeah, true.
So there's this lights out puzzle. They do one of those with dials and spokes. We finish it. A demon with a flamethrower comes out.
Mm-hmm.
They're still not done introducing just singular named demons.
He doesn't have a name. He talks. He's the only enemy who talks.
He has a name. It's in the wiki, but they might have got it from the strategy guide. Maybe. I can't remember what it is right off the top of my head, but he's a demon. He's a demon of fire, but he's a guy with a flamethrower who yells at you while you fight him. And a flamethrower, this is a unique enemy, right?
Uh-huh.
We said all the enemies are the same. Think about how many individual enemy names we've said. Only a couple of them acted differently. Uh-huh. This one having a flamethrower does operate differently.
Yes, it does.
To that. He has the same AI in pathfinding though. So you basically go into a chamber, wait for him to kind of turn around and try to figure out what you did and shoot him while that's happening.
Yes. I love his voice. He's like the guy who talked about a succulent Chinese meal being dragged out of the restaurant. Yeah.
It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
So after this, we warp to this big castle field and reach some standing stones, and this cutscene starts. Rebecca is tied up there, and Adam recognizes the smell of chloroform. Seems like Belial could use magic or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Belial shows up. There's some dialogue, and we have one of our climactic boss fights of this. That's ludicrous.
Yeah.
Belial has a wand, and he's a turret. He won't move.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a stone. So this is a cover fight. They are going back and forth.
Yeah.
Just waiting for your weapons to charge and hoping you can get out, hit him, and go back without taking damage.
It's a cover fight in a game where by default strafing is not on any of the buttons that your fingers are going to be near.
Yeah, strafing is added. It's like DLC.
Yeah,
it's a cover fight where strafing is DLC almost.
Yeah.
Absolutely silly shit.
Yeah,
here, and very anticlimactic for Belial, the Lord of Lies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he drops Eternity, and the Shrive, which at some point we lost again.
We lost. We were put in prison.
Oh yeah,
he's taken it from us from twice. No, we got it back after the prison.
Yeah, to get into.
We lost it. We went to hell.
Maybe
Like when we got separated from Rebecca, maybe?
Maybe?
It doesn't, nothing makes any sense at this.
Nothing matters.
Yeah, this is, what the hell is going on?
No, they were taken by the ghoul, also known as Hephaestus.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, shit. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. So anyway, he drops the things we need.
Mm-hmm.
And we use Eternity on the gravestone in the center, which sends us to a cave.
Yeah.
And the game is just stretch.
Uh-huh.
Like we should 1000% just be at the ending cutscene now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot believe we're not. We go to these coastal ruins with a bunch of flying demons, way too many of them.
Mm-hmm.
And now the enemies have pathfinding.
Yeah.
Like you can run away from these, but you can develop a huge train of them.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that. Cause I was so sick of fighting.
Oh no.
I was sick of everything in Realm of
them.
the Haunting.
Yeah.
I didn't want nothing to do with this at this point. So I'm just cruising, but you kind of can't, because then if you have to backtrack or look for anything, you can run to a bunch of them and they fire projectiles.
Yep. They also there are also like big door blocking enemies that are huge damage sponges. So you'll be running. You have to stop and deal with these things. And then all of the trailing gargoyles will pile up behind you, shoot you at once, and you're dead.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh. So getting through this chapter that need to be there called Threads. The threads are coming together. We go to chapter 19, The Gathering.
Yes. We finally get to the Soulstone Chamber, the heart of it all. And Florentine, Gull, and Hawk are just waiting around
Standing around.
You.
Yeah. Why'd you put all those fucking gargoyles in my way? What happens if I died? Hawk warns you not to do the obvious thing.
Yes.
It'd be useless to try to kill Florentine in the chamber.
Yeah.
The sword separate from the shrive is nothing against him.
Yeah.
While Gull just sits there giggling the whole time. I like this performance. I like Gull doing that.
Gull's good. Gull has big Robert Blake and Lost Highway energy.
Very much so.
Yeah. So Adam takes the shrive and twists it onto the end of onto the pommel of eternity, completing it, and we get dialogue options with Florentine. Saying like, hey, you're bluffing about your immortality. This is trying to goad you into just taking the attack option. He says, no, I'm so confident, I will just turn around. I'll turn my back to you. And you get an option to strike.
I hate this because what he's doing, if you do take the opportunity to strike, this will break the seventh seal around his neck.
Yeah.
He's trying to trick you into cutting that seal and fulfilling his plan. There's nothing, I feel like I could stab him without doing that. Mm-hmm. Also, later in the scene, somebody does stab him without doing that.
Yeah.
And that is not something you would ever intuit.
No.
The only reason why I didn't do it is because he wanted me to.
Yeah.
Like it's not tricky. It's incredibly obvious what not to do.
Yeah.
Don't do the obvious thing, but it's not a puzzle. There's nothing intuitive. He's acting like a real idiot, being like, come on, I want you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the Joker's like, I want you to hit me, he doesn't, you're not supposed to be hitting him.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be out there saving the people.
Yeah.
Or what, go do Batman stuff.
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to be hitting him. He's wasting your time.
Yeah.
Like it's just so obvious.
Yeah.
To this. It's ludicrous. But so if you do attack him, Gull's Ace of Spades catches fire, and by the 7 be bound, by the 7 to come, the power of one, thy will be done, and his eyes glow green. Yeah. We fucked up.
End of the world. Gull became the ultimate evil, a harbinger of Satan, and all of the realms will crash to the ground. If you tell Florentine, hey, I won't fight you, he will zap you, freezing you and making you drop eternity.
I like that when you do this, you're like, time's on my side is the dialogue option, which is basically like, I have to do something like, what if I just wait you out?
Yeah.
I like that a lot. But that doesn't work as well. He just freezes you with a spell.
Yeah.
The Deus Ex Machina from this is Rebecca.
Yeah.
Breaking good. She warps into the chamber and Gull looks at his card. He thinks it's going to be the Ace of Spades. Mm-hmm. We don't see what it is just yet. Florentine hands Adam his cane here and bends down to pick up eternity. As Rebecca's skulking around.
Yeah.
Doesn't hand, he hangs it on his hand.
Yeah.
Adam's still frozen.
Yes. Yeah. And Gull, we see he just keeps drawing cards and he's throwing them on the ground, and we see that he's drawing jokers. Just, an improper amount of jokers. From the deck here. And he's getting more and more
of jokers.
Getting more and more panicked. As Rebecca sneaks up on Florentine and then just kicks him in the face.
His one weakness. Florentine attacks her, But then Elf shows up fully armed and just hurls a sword, throws it like you throw a javelin.
He throws it
through
loosely.
Florentine's chest, which somehow does not break the seal.
Nope.
You can stab him in the chest. Just Adam can't do it.
Yeah. It's only Alf because you have collected the equipment.
Yes. And so Alf can have a place in the climax, even though I would not have been surprised if he just didn't show up again.
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah.
Florentine falls backwards into a pit. Rebecca grabs the seal from him there. Gowl starts growling and moaning, because fucked up. And Hawk says, the fool's hand is a dead man's hand. The prophecy will be fulfilled, and yeets Gowl off the ledge into the
green below.
Well. Yes, into the green screen abyss.
Yeah.
Here.
Rebecca explains, attacking with eternity would have broken the seal. Maybe it's the soul sword is the only thing that can break the final seal. I don't know. Nothing is explained.
I feel like if you were wearing a necklace, and I'm not planning to do this to you, but if you were wearing a necklace and I wanted to stab you, I could stab you without stabbing the necklace.
Gary, nothing will make me think you're about to stab me and my necklace more than you saying you're not thinking of doing
my shirt about not stabbing you is raising a lot of questions answered by my shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, it's a dumb plan.
Mm-hmm.
This ending is a big letdown. To me, this is really stupid, and it should be. Notice I said ending. It's not.
No.
This should be the ending by all rights in the world.
Yes.
There is no universe in which this game should have kept going.
Nope.
Rebecca explains what would have happened. Hawk and Elf both say that Rebecca must take Abaddon's place. She's fated, even though you finally, you kiss. At this point, this romantic tension is finally paid off. She's like, I will see you in your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
But she's now has to be Abaddon. I don't know what Abaddon's going to do. Maybe he gets promoted to Gnarl. Gnarl gets promoted to Forrester. Forrester gets, promoted to Plowman. I don't know how this Cones of Dunshire ass shit works. So Alf gives you the sword and says you have to restore the balance.
Yeah.
And Adam does so. He returns the blade to the Soul Stone and warps to this blue cloudscape to see his freed father.
Yeah.
And his father says, you must leave quickly before the weave reties and destroys the house and temple around him.
The weave?
The weave. The weave is also a thing in addition to the thread. And you hug. And in any universe, that would be the end of the fucking game.
Uh-huh.
But you have to run through the thing, and there's another boss fight after this.
It gets a Metroid ending, Gary.
It gets a Metroid ending and another big dumb fight.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned the Dodger.
Yeah.
And you Chekhov's Dodger, if Dodger shows up in Act 1, you have to talk about Dodger.
It makes no sense because they're linked. If Florentine is dead, the Dodger should be dead. Instead, you flee through the house as it's collapsing, meaning you have to take a long way through. And then you get to the entryway, and this is where the Dodger attacks. If you didn't save Florentine's staff for this will take a while. You're also fighting him in a very small space.
Yes. Pretty irritating that that's still happening. Out here. Adam walks away. The mansion gets engulfed in flames and explosions and then kind of, absorbs into itself.
Yeah. It does the poltergeist thing.
Yeah. And then we cut to an insane asylum where Adam has been telling this story to a doctor.
Gary,
are you fucking kidding me?
It's a framing device that they forgot to put at the beginning.
Yes. There is a framing device at the beginning of it, which is him in the car telling the story. Every time, so when I'm typing, I have a bad habit of opening with parentheses and then closing with quotation marks.
Yes.
Or vice versa. Mm-hmm. That's what this game is doing.
Yeah.
It opened with quotation marks and it is ending with a parentheses.
And then my bad habit is I will open parentheses and then I will do nested parentheticals inside of it.
Yes.
Just digressing into it, just drilling downward until I realize there's probably a better way to form this.
Yes.
Right?
This is a bad sentence. And that is Realm of the Haunting. It is a bad sentence. There's one last little stinger. The doctor gives him his medicine and a nurse arrives with some medication and she looks like Rebecca.
Yeah.
Adam recognizes her.
He makes this face. He makes this face like, oh boy.
Yeah, here we go again. I guess the realm's haunted. I guess I'm back at it again. And then they never made a sequel.
Yeah, no.
Can you imagine this lore expanding outwards? The sequel would double.
I want them to.
I want the bigger and better sequel that has twice as many nouns and concepts as this.
Oh my God. I demand it.
the actual story of this is not the thing about that's crazy about this is that there's that matrix about like, a good story simply told is fine, or a simple story simply told is for children.
Yes.
A complex story simply told is great. A simple story complexly told is bad art. And like a complex story told in a complex way is usually more, could be changed, is not ideal.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
This is the very definition of a simple story told in a complex way.
Yeah.
Like this is just the forces of good and evil having a big climax thing. You having to gather doodads to tip the balance.
And
they crowd it with so much fucking lore stuff.
Yeah. I think that this is something where the story is limited by their imagination, right? Because this is a problem that could have been solved, has been solved. But the story is limited by the fact that this is a video game made in 1996 and they chose to have it be a run around and shoot thing. Right.
Yes.
And so like instead of working with any kind of complexity, and maybe having different viewpoint characters or shifting things around, Adam always has to be at the center of it, and that means that this has to be and then story. That is,
yes.
You go to a place and get a thing. The story ultimately is a bunch of people told you to get the ingredients that you needed, and then you went to a place and then you put them together and saved the world. Right?
Yes.
And this is a problem that like video game movies run into where every different, sequence is just a different level. Right?
Yes.
This is this weird thing that approaches that from the other side where this is trying to be a movie, but it is too much of a game to actually be it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing in conversation with a lot of games that run into cinematic stuff like that. Like it's interesting to think of the way this is bloated versus how Kojima stuff is bloated.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like they're very different styles of similar problems of like spiraling out with unneeded complexity because of the author following rabbit holes that they liked, as a thing like, oh, I just learned about this. This has to be included.
Yeah.
It's like that, but for the 90s. I just read this Da Vinci Code inspiring book. I have to include this thing.
Yeah.
I just thought of this noun. That has to be there too.
Yeah.
This is one of the worst things we've done for the show that I still end up enjoying the most because it's one of the most like uniqueness is not, we talk about this is not a marker of quality.
Right.
If it was every single gimmick game, if it was Brutal Legend would be good. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, but this is like more unique.
Yeah.
Nothing feels like this.
It's
nothing feels like this in the hands. Nothing plays like this. Nothing presents its plot this way. It is earnest and competent enough in certain ways that both like make it funny and good.
Yeah.
Better than it would be.
If it was just earnest, it wouldn't be enough. Right.
No.
Because then it would be self-serious and there's some of that there, but it's not. It is earnest and it is exuberant. That and then storytelling. That's also like a little kid telling a story.
Yes.
Right. And then you get into little kid logic where they have to introduce something else to get themselves out of the corner that they painted themselves into. That I think contributes a huge amount of the charm to this. Mechanically, this feels like it was trying to be the next evolution of something by kind of recombining things. And instead ended up being a dead end. This is like, I don't know, somebody tried to make a car that would be a boat. It's the Aqua Cars from the Simpsons gag, right? And then we didn't do that anymore because it was a really bad idea. It is this weird little like keystone or like evolutionary dead end that also is like gesturing towards like what things would ultimately be. I find this fascinating as a product.
It's really interesting.
Yeah,
for sure. Like it's super interesting in a way that didn't move on to things, right? Like we were talking in green room times about the Alone in the Dark as a thing to cover at some point for the show, the first Alone in the Dark.
Yeah.
I find that game very frustrating to play.
Yes.
And interesting historically because it is a template for Resident Evil style survival horror.
Yes.
Like it invented that, know, but that's something where you can just draw a direct line.
Yeah.
This, if you want to make the argument, this is the kind of thing that is led on some level to like a Deus Ex.
It's,
I'm not saying it's necessarily inspired it. I don't know the actual thing, but you could draw a line there if you wanted to in terms of elements this has.
Yeah.
As a story-rich first-person game with kind of puzzle elements to it. Or you mentioned System Shock earlier. It controls a little bit like the first System Shock, but like System Shock 2 as well. There's a little bit of this kind of hybridization of that in this. It's a fuck up. It's just an absolute, it's absolute outsider art. As a thing, and has the joys of outsider art to it.
Yeah. If this is an intermediate step, it is like between Ultima Underworld and Thief, kind of. Yeah. It's a fuck up, right? It is, again, Florentine was the wrong person to take the sword out of the stone, right?
Yes.
Gremlin was the wrong, they weren't up to it. They yanked the sword out and it burned them.
Even considering this a sword, to take out the stone. This is them. This is pulling the spoon out of the out of the highway. Like it's not a thing.
The idea of making this hybrid first person shooter adventure game cinematic thing, that was the sword. Like making those things meet, and when they pulled it out, it was a spoon.
It didn't work
because that's all they could pull.
I cannot recommend anyone play this.
God no.
Not even a little bit. This is service. If you want to see it in action, I like the YouTuber Grimbeard a lot. I watched his video on this before we covered it because I didn't know we'd cover it. So some of the stuff I had spoiled for me. That is a really great overview. And I find that guy funny. That's like an hour-long way to see this in action.
I streamed this in its entirety back in like 2018, I think. That should be up on YouTube.
Yeah. So find a way to vicariously learn about this. I don't think anybody should play it with their hands unless you are really curious about it. And if so, don't force yourself to beat it.
And if you do play it, don't play it with your own hands. Skin somebody else's hands and wear it like a glove and then play it with theirs.
Yeah. Then you won't get burned by it. It's not the only way my bullshit can burn you. Thanks everyone for listening. If you are listening to this and you are not demographically identical to us, you can send me an email at Gary@Duckfeed.tv with your pronouns, details on your project or product you'd like us to promote, and a link and pronunciation. I'm not good at pronunciation. I appreciate help in that regard. We'll be happy to shout it out. Nothing right now, but if you have anything coming up, Kickstarter, you're a streamer, anything like that, we want to not pull the ladder up under us.
Yes.
Happy to give that time over. If you have thoughts on this month's episodes, you would write in by the 15th. I think you could write in today as you hear this.
Maybe
no?
Possibly.
No.
Yeah, no.
It's too late, actually.
Yeah, it's too late. Sorry. Yeah, it's one of those months where it doesn't work out like that. The deadline for every month is the 15th. So we'll read those in the episode that comes out after Tunic, our premium episode. If you have thoughts about next month's games, which are The Life and Suffering of Sir Bronte, something like that. Project Snowblind, or the premium episode, which is The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. Again, that will be June the 15th is the deadline, duckfeed.tv/contact. Click the button, write in your response, separate multiple games into multiple responses, and try and keep them brief and specific.
Yeah, we didn't purposely put Tunic and Link Between Worlds back to back, but that will be interesting. I do that. Also, if you're playing Project Snowblind, it's on sale right now for less than $1. And go onto the Steam, forum stuff where people have done the tech supporting things. It was not designed to run on a multi-core computer. You have to kind of trick it. Okay. But if you run in that mode, it runs okay.
Okay.
So it takes a little bit of tech stuff. It is funny. If you want to support us and you want to hear those bonus episodes, those premium episodes, so Tunic and A Link Between Worlds, all of our old ones, you can do so by going to Patreon, patreon.com/DuckFeedTV. $5 a month gets you all of that, gives you all the old ones, gives you a bunch of bonus shows, bonus episodes of Abject Suffering if you like that, but a whole new shows. That is how you get Unfilmable, our horror movie shows. We recorded a real banger of an episode this month, I think.
I agree. It should be coming out in a week after you hear this about Blue Velvet. So that'll be a crossover one. If you're not into horror movies specifically, but you like Lynch stuff, get in there. See if you like it.
Yeah. I think it's a good episode.
Yeah.
$10 to give you more stuff. Adaptation Decay and Quackstack, the show we do with our producer, Gwen. Those are both once a month. And it does a lot. Any of these levels, this is why we keep our houses hot. It pays for us to hire Gwen.
Yes.
It pays for, Will Hughes insurance. So if you like Will having insurance, don't answer that. But generally, if you like what we do, that is how you can make sure it keeps happening.
Yes.
The power is yours.
And speaking of Gwen, we would like to end by thanking her. Thanks, Gwen.
Yes. Very big thanks to Gwen. Until next time, what can they watch out for?
I should have pulled up one of the other malediction prophecies. And until next time, watch out for the desire to nest your parentheses.
Yes. Narratively or literally.